What on earth? What just happened? There we go. There's my audio. For some reason, decided not to do that. It's not a Saturday night. It was not an audio issue. Hello, everyone. We're here. It's Saturday night. Time to talk about anime. How you guys doing?
Indeed.
Freshly shaved.
No kidding.
I miss having a beard.
You're saying it's mafia personality, babyface John.
Yeah.
Do you have phantom beard? Do you like periodically?
It's right. You get to a point with a beard where you lay down on a pillow and it stops being in your mouth, so that it becomes like literally like laying on a small furry animal. So it's kind of like it's like a pelt stuck to your face, and it's comfortable.
So that's what Kimbo feels like when he's sleeping with his dad's.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then when you shave, it becomes like Velcro. So that when you try to move your face on the pillowcase goes with it. I'm like, I'd forgotten this in like 8 months.
Very different.
It's very cooling for this lovely weather.
I imagine. That is quite nice. I had a coworker who would wear the beard out in the winter and then shave back up in the summer to be cool.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, there's nothing worse than like sweat bead running off your bald head, then hitting the first of the beard section, and then going pachinko on you.
Oh, yeah.
Where is it going to land?
Yeah, pretty much. And then you just end up sitting there like a dog scratching. People look at you like, "Are you okay?" Like, just doing fine. I'm okay.
Just mange. I'm all right.
Yeah. Damn fleas.
Speaking of which, fleas on animals. Let's get started.
That's a good segue.
Hey, I do what I can. So let's talk about Jin-Roh. Now that we're all happy and upbeat, let's discuss Jin-Roh, a movie that's not exactly a comedy. And so I didn't know where to start with this. So we normally discuss kind of our exposure. I've seen this years and years ago. It's one of those, you should totally see Jin-Roh. Watch Jin-Roh. Typical for this kind of a thing. I was typically not a huge Mamoru Oshii fan initially. Just didn't get it. And so I was like, okay, it's kind of interesting, but I don't like the pace and all that kind of stuff. But I've since come around. So watching it this time, I was like, I see what they're doing. I understand the kind of the symbolism and the deliberately slow pace. So definitely glad I came back to it. How about you guys?
Well, years and years ago, this probably would have been actually 2004, I think.
Oh, wow.
I was working at the IMAX here at the Science Center, Maryland Science Center. And a guy I was working with was also a fan of anime, and he and I, in between, the IMAX movies, I think it was between IMAX Beavers and IMAX Bears, I forget what it was, but he and I were having this contest of like, who could name like the most depressing anime without talking about the most famous one. So that one was verboten. So we couldn't talk about Grave of the Fireflies. So we we're bringing up all these other ones, and he brought up Jin-Roh, and I had never heard of it. And so he described it for me, so I decided to watch it. And it was I found it really, really very interesting. Like when I first watched the trailer, I was like, okay, is this like a 50s, 60s where Japan and Germany are friends now? Is the way that it presents itself at first. And
they were allies during the war.
Right, yeah. But I was like, I thought it was like they won the war or something like that. But anyway, so I watched it, and I was just like, it's more about the social upheaval after the occupation, running into the 60s. And I just remember when I was watching it, just first of all, I became entranced by the idea of late 50s, early 60s Tokyo. And the way that looked, which is so radically different. And the fact that he captured, if you ever look at historical pictures of that time period, they really captured it.
Oh, perfectly, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, the historian in me, the OCD historian in me was very happy in that type of thing. So then over the years, of course, I bought a copy of it, and so periodically would go back to it. And then I stopped watching it for a long time, and then I came across this AMV based on the song Panzermensch.
Oh, okay.
This is a German, kind of like Rammstein.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of music, and it was just all that, all the action that goes on in this anime, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so cool! I gotta watch it again. So
Word,
yeah. So and then months ago when we decided to start doing all this stuff, remember what I kept saying over and over again? Let's throw Jin-Roh. And you guys were like, no.
Hey, I didn't say no. I just said Jin who?
But yeah, it's I would have to say it's probably in my top 20.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I can see why.
Yeah.
John,
I've had this on the list for eons, and I don't remember whether Brent you had said something about it or where I'd run across it before.
This seems like a film.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Interesting.
I went and watched it, and then I flipped into my anime list to like update and it was on plan to watch.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I must have run across this somewhere. I've been like, oh, okay, this is an impressive film, and I should put this on the list to get to it, and I hadn't until now.
Here we go.
And boy.
Well, it's
interesting concepts.
It's a ray of sunshine.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a film that starts with, the atomic bombing.
Yeah.
That's like literally the opening image of this film after some text. And
then segues into Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So let's talk about this. One of the interesting things about Jin-Roh is it's basically alternate history. So for those who've watched the film, there really is, and spoilers, there really was a lot of political unrest in the 60s and later in the 70s in Japan. So this is very much based on that. And basically, what if the response from the Japanese government was much more severe to create this special unit? And as I'm sure there were calls at the time to, ramp up police response. What if that happened? And this is, what happens when you have a paramilitary force as your Capitol Police. And
they go and buy German equipment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the natural answer every time.
Right.
So I haven't found out. So this is based on I think a series of novels, light novels by Moro Oshii, who provided the story structure for the movie. So he basically said, here's how I would slice this down for a movie. And then apparently Satoshi Kon came in and was involved on kind of structuring it and figuring out how to do all the various layers. But I don't know whether I assume the implication is that they got all this stuff from Germany and imported it into Japan.
Yeah, I mean it's there.
Yeah,
absolutely no way it could really be any kind of other way, because they make it kind of clear in the film. Like you saw that one still image where there's a U.S. occupation serviceman, that is kind of sitting down on street level with somebody. It's like, okay, the occupation went on for enough years that in our timeline, that's sort of settled out how the hawks and doves worked out with the Diet in Japan, and instituting the new elements of the Constitution, thanks to MacArthur, and getting stuff kind of coordinated. It's like you didn't have the Japanese military-industrial complex produce that number of armored cars. You didn't have them copying over things like the MG-34, the FG-42, the C-96 Mauser, the P-38, the Mauser itself. I went through it. At some point, I'm just like nerding it up. I'm like, oh, what's that weapon?
I was
that too.
Oh yeah.
I was totally thinking of you, John, when I was watching this again, because now that I know somebody who knows about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And just like also at the end of it, noting the rifle stock attachment for that for the handgun, so that whatever. But one of the things
the broom handled C-96 Mauser.
Yeah. See, he
And the
knows
fact
all
that
this.
people are wandering down a sewer and they have STG 44s. I'm like,
I know.
what are you doing to me? This is
Yeah.
cool.
So,
In addition to the MG 42, just
it's just, I know that
Wow.
that's just.
Can I ask what those things are?
Oh yeah.
the
Guns.
STG is the thing that has a banana clip that looks like an
Okay.
AK-47 kind of thing.
Mhm.
It's not an AK. It's an
No,
STG
it's-
44, which
yeah.
is a mid to late war German assault rifle.
Okay.
Actually, if you
Stormgewehr
watch
assault weapon.
Fury, the tank movie that was out recently,
Okay. I remember, yeah.
what's his name? Brad Pitt's character actually sports one that he lifted off of
Yeah.
a Nazi. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and then the 42 is the Constable Fuse. His big machine gun
His
thing is, and
Yeah.
and I mean, this is like as
Did
much
you
as the,
see those bullets?
well, they're 8mm full-sized rounds, which is just
Yeah.
devastating weapon.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at this beyond the actual storyline, this is like a love letter to like German manufactured weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So in I don't know
All
if
the
you
way
guys
down
watched
to the changing the barrel
Mhm.
on the
Yeah.
FG-42 when he's doing a cleaning regimen. It's
Yeah.
like you could have just left that out. That was not important.
Oh, no.
It was not a critical thing, a key issue to the film, and yet you have it, putting the thing back, locking it back into the carrier. I'm like, oh wow.
So one of the things about this movie, particularly with the weaponry, I don't know if you guys watched the credits, towards the credits at the end, you know, they talked about the gun model company, and then there was CATS, which is a combat action where they teach people how to use weapons for entertainment.
Oh, okay.
So what CATS did is they brought out the animators and gave them weapons, the actual actual MGs, and set up pig carcasses and had them fire at the pig carcasses. And that's why when you watch the movie, you see the way the body moves when they get hit with the right.
Oh yeah.
That they were learning how to animate that by shooting the pig corpses. And
oh, wow.
and they were a little bit scarred by that. A couple of them, a few of them had to have a little bit of therapy. But
sure.
If you've ever been around one of those 42s and they light up, it's even not pointing at you, but like just near it, you can just hear that. And I loved the deep bass when he's just lighting it up, and you just have this.
And he's towards the end when he's walking it through the water.
Yeah. Which is just you don't think that Constable Fuse is like got any kind of real kind of emotional investment in anything else. You know, he's kind of breaking in a little bit with Kay, but just not. He otherwise pretty flat affect. Walking it up to Henmi,
Yeah.
is purposeful.
Here
that's
it
like
comes.
I've seen the pictures. I know what's going on. And now I'm going to dance this up to you so you get your last moments to know what's coming.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, boy.
Yeah, it is not fun for him.
No.
Yeah, it's and it's one of the weird things about the film is that there is this almost fetishization of the military hardware, while also showing how dehumanized these people are that use this. It's one of the things I love about the movie is that it's very dark, it's very serious. It's one of the most dark, serious movies I can think of, but it never turns into nihilism. It never turns into none of this matters. It turns into no, like this is terrible. Like this is bad. What's happening to these people? Right. This should not happen. There is light and life and goodness. It's just not happening here.
And for this one guy, it's just not a thing.
No, absolutely. And it's one of the fascinating things about the movie is that they do present how he is clearly traumatized by this.
Yeah.
This girl blowing up in front of him, and how that is, as you get to the ending, you realize, oh, this is this cat and mouse game. Yeah, but like he wasn't faking. Like
No.
he was definitely seriously messed up by this.
Well, I mean, you see Nanami just look at him and it's
yeah.
like, oh, there is nobody in the world that would be like
And he
not
actually
affected by
asks.
that.
Yeah, he actually asks her why.
Mhm.
You know, it's just like normally they're just supposed to go in there, do their thing,
Yep.
kill the person, and be done with it.
Well, and that's the other interesting question: is he asking her why, or is he asking himself why?
Mm.
Because he's not sure. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is I think it's both. Partly because I think what's also interesting is that you know, she's a non-combatant, right? He's trained in these various military you know, scenarios, if you will, or paramilitary scenarios, but it's just a girl with a satchel, right? So it just presents very differently than you know, these guys with guns running around, which I think gets very much to the themes of the film. Is that, you know, when you try to solve these social problems with big guns, those don't mesh very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever, have you guys ever noticed that his face is very canine-like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's very
remember
canine.
the Wolf Brigade?
Mhm. Yeah.
His time in the museum. Where does he stand?
Next to the wolves.
Mhm.
The wolves. His sort of vivid fantasy experience. Wolves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like-
absolutely. And that's, and you know, again, very Satoshi Kon. This whole sort of dream sequence as he's you know, seeing, I'll call her the girl because who is it actually? Getting ripped apart. And one of the things I love about it is that it is very much what people report about having experiences of having been severely traumatized, right? It's this, you have these various images and symbolism kind of being thrown at you by your brain as it's trying to make all these connections. And that it's this very traumatic visual of these wolves, you know, tearing at this person. And they do a great job of making it clear what's happening without, like, you know, showing a shoulder getting ripped off or something along those lines.
Right,
They
yeah.
get that balance there. Did anyone else also notice it's somewhat adultificated? Like, there are a few shots where, like, it's lingering on her thighs.
Yeah, with a wolf's paw between her
Yeah.
legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that. But, I mean, what do you want to dip into Freudian kind of conceptual elements?
Sure.
Jungian dream theory, etc. I mean, he likens to the wolf as the wolf is consuming her.
Yeah.
And so the sort of subtext is you see him for a very brief moment, like, have an actual physical contact with her.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a dip in his resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, sort of the Red Riding Hood factor. It's like, you know, you could be so much of a stone wall, and then there's that little gap in the armor, and then you got to go back.
Yep.
So this, you know, it's like watching that. I'm like, so he's fighting the urge to consume her, and is concerned about consuming her, and all the other things that we find out are interconnected with all of this, where it's just not a simple, like, oh, let's be in love and run away. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
easy answer, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think it gets to the fact that, you know, it's complicated, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, not only is this, you know, is it horrible that this girl killed herself, but also, like, there's a physical attraction there, right? Like he found her pretty. And that also gets tied into everything, right?
Well, hence they say, oh, we found someone who looked kind of like her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, more the Germanness of the thing. It's like Nanami was kurzes Haar, short hair, and K is langes Haar, long hair. That's like,
Gotcha.
those are your designations. Road caption, the pamphlet he got is the story of Red Riding Hood, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, who went to Germany for the summer before this film?
Yeah.
Let's put in Neuschwanstein. No, stop it. Just stop it.
Pretty much. Yeah, well, and there's very much this sense of well, again, sort of fetishization of the German.
Yeah.
But yeah, and what's also impressive about the film, a lot of, and this is not directed by Oshii, I should point out, but it is very much in the style of, it's basically a Pat Labor movie without a labor. To be honest. And the thing is, I really appreciate how the movie progresses over time, where it starts with this social unrest, with all of this stuff, and you see all of these protesters and the police who are responding to them, and so forth and so on. It's kind of a very classic movie moment of crowds meeting the police, and the police don't know what to do, and the crowds are kind of overwhelming them. And by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, no music.
Yep.
It is stark for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That whole sequence, which really drives you and draws you in. And then the thing happens, and then it turns into what's going to become of Fusei, and you think that's the movie. This guy's, are they going to mess with him? Is he going to be something bad going to happen? And it should also be noted, this thing has happened, and they're like, you get retrained.
Yeah.
Really? That's all? Okay. And so you think, okay, something more is going on here.
Well, you know that with the meeting of three, where their bosses are all kind of sitting around talking, and they're like, hashing out what's going on, what part of the city police is doing this, and what kind of intrigue is going on that, and who are the security detail dudes doing, and what's who's in whose pocket. And it's like, so you're seeing Fusei, and it's just like, oh, you're just such a pawn in all this.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're actually not really anybody.
No.
And that's the sad thing about Fusei is that, after the event happens, and he's just running in the yard because that's what you do, paramilitary.
Yep.
And you that's what you
train.
You
just
train.
Keep training.
And you just keep going, and he's just running around and around in a circle. And he's just, in sort of a like waiting for orders is what he's doing. And so then when he goes through the court martial, which really isn't a court martial. I mean,
it's more like it's the board of inquiry, really.
And they send him back to be retrained. And I think that's the part for me where I think that Fusei is starting to understand that he has a role to play, but he's trying to figure out where it's coming from. He hasn't really figured it out from his friends yet. He hasn't figured it out from the trainers, and and then as it builds up, and then you see the interdepartmental, the meeting of the big guys, and later on, and it is just very classical, 50s, 60s, early 70s Japanese government corruption. And it's one of the things that you see throughout the whole movie is just Tokyo being built,
construction,
old things being knocked down and new things going up. And this is during a period of time where the government and corporations are, in the real world, and I'm assuming in this one, are so bankrupt and so corrupt morally corrupt that they just kind of have their own rules that they're following. And then there's this underlying agenda that they have, and even the police have this underlying agenda, even with trying to keep with all the safety policing the city. And then and then you come to realize that they're all just squabbling. They're all just squabbling for power,
and that's the whole thing they talk about. It's like the special unit, how they weren't authorized to do that. They weren't supposed to do that.
Supposed to be there, right?
Stepping on the other. It's like you guys are pissing over like territory, and
and creating a whole big thing.
And it's like now you're gonna try and get Fusei to be the one to put his head in the noose, because a girl blew herself up, apparently took out the wall that had the transformers that caused a blackout, and that was inconvenient.
Yep.
Versus doing something and preventing that satchel charge from killing a bunch of people.
Right.
It's like you're focusing on this when you're not looking at this. Which Steve, by the way, I thought they're running. Fuse is running down an alleyway with K at one point. And at the end of the alleyway, you can kind of see in a big pink neon sign. I think it says Pachinko. I'm looking down there. I'm like, there's Steve's place. But, the same kind of thing. It's like the corruption of the building contractors and things going on in Tokyo. The above board, kind of on the line, kind of Pachinko kind of deal going on. Is it gambling? Is it not gambling?
Yeah. By the way, a really good movie to watch about corporate corruption in Japan is Kira Kurosawa's, what's it called? The Bad Sleep Well.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of a sort of take on Hamlet, but it talks about that corruption.
Nice.
Cool.
And you can't beat a nice Kurosawa film.
Exactly.
No. It has your favorite.
Toshiro Mifune.
Yes.
Nice.
In a 1950s hunting outfit.
Wow. Wow.
I just want him drunk with an oversized samurai sword.
That's a crazy story.
Is that the one? The one you talked about before? Is that the one with the with like the kidnapping?
The Bad Sleep Well?
Yeah, the Bad Sleep Well. Is that the one where like his daughter is kidnapped or something, and it's all about?
Well, she's involved.
Does he have a special set of skills?
No, well, she is not to get into too much because then we'll start talking about that movie. She has she's born with one leg shorter than the other.
Okay.
And so he marries her.
Okay.
The hero marries her, and it's a plot for him to get close to her father, who's kind of the vice president of this company, who in turn took his father's place.
Oh, okay.
Why it's Hamlet. His father's place, who committed suicide.
Oh.
And so he's getting his revenge on everybody.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's a point where she kind of plays along with what's going on.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of that in this movie, actually.
Yeah.
Of folks playing along with things. And it's one of the reasons why this is, I think, such an interesting movie, because you can absolutely go back and rewatch it and realize kind of what's going on, but at the same time, the movie isn't tricking you. Right. It is very much just people. Right. There are people with different motivations and different, on different sides, and you just know this person was on that side, which I really appreciate.
Well, it's done more like you would expect out of real people.
Yeah.
Right.
We're watching these people engaged in this sort of dance, and we have some information, but like real life, we don't have every detail. So we're not entirely sure. What is Kay? Is she actually the sister? No, she's probably not the sister, but what's her take in this? So it's like fleshing that out as you get to the end of the film.
Yeah. And I really appreciate how, Kay showing up is an anime moment. Right, where like he goes there to see the girl's ashes. I'll see if I can find that, and
just happens to run into
Kay.
Kay.
Happens to run into Kay. Wearing a red jacket.
Yep.
All that kind of stuff. And I remember seeing that going, okay, like you have to do that. Fair enough. But then to find out later, no, that was planned. Like that was a plant.
Well, so, his good friend Henmi, knows Fuse like the back of his hand. So everything fits so neatly into his plan.
Yep.
So the first time I saw this movie, and I was watching this, and he goes to the
Chili went and shot his mouth off.
Yeah.
And he goes to the place where everyone is vaulted, buried in the graves and stuff. When you first see that, you know what it looked like to me? A hall of records.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and so I was like,
thinking
really
shoe lockers. Hall of records works
bowling
too.
shoe lockers. There you go. Yeah. And so he's going in there. He's walking in there.
It's okay. It's all right. Senor Wenceslas, what are you doing here?
So he's going in there, and he's gotten the information from the good friend.
Yeah.
I say sarcastically.
Best buddy.
Yeah.
His best buddy. Hey, buddy. Anyway, so he comes in and I'm like thinking, oh, he's gonna look up information about the girl, whatever. And he kind of is, but you know. And also the first time that I saw this, I really didn't know anything about these kinds of resting places for remains.
Sure.
And the fact that you can actually open the vault and put something in. So when she says, "Oh, I was going to put this in the vault," and then it's Little Red Riding Hood, the story that she gets them, and then when she pulled that out, and speaking of like the close ties of Germany and Japan, pulled that book out, and I still just kind of to this day I still kind of go, it's nice to see that they're going with the actual Brothers Grimm kind of take on it, and not the actual Sacred Suite that we watch on Romper Room.
Right. Yeah.
When we were kids, right? And
are you saying the Disney-fied versions is not Romper?
No, a little bit, not quite. So, and when they talk about like as the movie's going along, they're doing snippets out of the story, and I just thought that was really neat how they did that, and they talk about the initial part about the armor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The iron armor.
Iron clothes. And, and then kind of comparing, to that. And one of the things that attracted me to Jin-Roh was that armor that they're wearing.
Sure.
Can you get any more ghoulish?
Yep.
And terrifying?
Oh, yeah, you can.
You can, but yeah. But it's just, it looks like a skeleton coming up, like as if it's rib bones.
Yep.
And then it's like a skeletal face and these demon eyes, for low light. Which, by the way, low light, 50s. I don't know my tech.
You had some infrared vision stuff. The vampire system that the Germans launched by the end of the war used like an infrared light and a detector to be able to aim things in a low light kind of condition.
Okay.
But the idea of night vision, the technological capability was probably nascent. So it probably. Yeah. Arguably, if you focused on it, it would be a little more advanced, but not quite like that. But then you probably also wouldn't have had body armor that would have had 3 dudes with MP40s gunning at you, and it just sort of bouncing off, and you're not even sort of bounced back a tad.
And again, by this point, it's late 60s, so we're getting to like Vietnam era. Technology potentially.
You had better night vision by then.
Starlight, right?
Yes, still not great, but
Well, and we see that like when that moment when he switches it on, it's all grainy. Like, it's kind of a mess.
It's tough to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And the one sort of levity moment, which isn't really supposed to be levity, but I still laughed at it because I'm just, I had to laugh at something.
Sick man.
It was in the training exercises when they get hit with the bullets.
Oh yes.
The rubber bullets.
The rubber bullet, right? And the 2 guys who fail the exercise and are at the bottom of the stairwell, and the one just like holds up his hands like that. Yep. And the trainer's just like, no, that's not how this works. And then they're just like there, and they shoot him again just for measure.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely a moment of levity. Like, you screwed up.
You're gonna learn, son.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, I mean, it's absolutely true. What he says at the end, he's like, you learn with your body. You know that's gonna hurt, so you try to avoid pain by not dying. Like, go figure that.
Which again gets to this whole theme of you are physically traumatizing people to carry out these things, and what does that do to people?
Yeah.
I also like the fact that we see Fusei kind of emotionless, and we see the other guys in a very similar state after that exercise. Just reinforcing the fact that like this is kind of breaking them down. Which again is what you have to do if you're trying to do this kind of thing. It's an interesting film because you get, the conversation between Henmi and the instructor goes on for like 3.5 hours. You know, they're just sitting there talking about all this kind of stuff, and it's very much one of those things where, like me, if you're not into it and you want something to actually happen, it just grinds forever when you realize that this is a movie about that, and also it's a movie about like a lot of live action Japanese films. Most people aren't saying exactly what they mean.
Right.
And there are subtexts to every line. If somebody doesn't answer something, that means something. And there's a lot of that going on here, where folks are kind of, you know, they're changing the topic of conversation suddenly. Yeah. They're doing all that kind of stuff, and so it's fun to kind of read that and go, oh, that was an indelicate question.
A lot of dramatic pausing.
Mm-hmm. And so we have some.
Haha.
Yeah, and getting back to your point, Steve, I love that moment with the destroyed building, and about how, and this is very much what was happening in Japan all the time, things getting torn down and built back up, and it's just gone. Nothing you can do about it.
Which honestly, when she was saying that, I'm looking at the pile of stuff and I'm thinking, you realize that's just an abandoned lot and people are just dumping trash on it, right? But then I dialed back in. I'm like, no. We're making a point by this statement.
Yes.
It's not the actual visual of just like trash. It's the point of this.
Yeah. Which is actually an interesting thing. So actually in this scene when he's talking with her, I had kind of a Satoshi Kon moment where I was like, ooh, if this is directed by Satoshi Kon, you wouldn't be sure she was real. Right? Like, did he go to the cemetery and see a girl who looks exactly like her, and now he's hanging out with this girl, right? Like, that would be a great extra layer to put on all of this stuff.
His psychosis is so kooky.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh,
boy.
And, you know, no one really interacts with them. No one really sees she's there. And so I think that would have been a great, you know, tack to take, but obviously that's not what they're going for here.
And then suddenly he becomes an idol.
Yeah.
Dresses up.
Oh. And then he becomes a spider.
Oh.
Spider idol. Ah, cool. I'm a spider, so what?
Mm-hmm. Hey.
Okay.
I'm still enjoying it.
Oh, cool.
So,
shoot.
yes.
It's still quite fun.
One sec. I accidentally clicked the wrong thing. There we go.
And fade to black.
Come on. There we are. Unfortunately, with this way of doing things, sometimes if I go too far, it closes the video, which isn't very helpful for us.
Oh.
Exactly. So yeah, and actually I think one of the great examples of how the movie is kind of subtle and quiet is when Kay gets the phone call. Because you have no idea what that means.
Right.
She just says, hi, and then lays down. It's not until you go back to the movie later on that you realize, oh, this is, you know...
She's receiving, right.
That's the call to get
That,
ordered.
yes, yeah, they're receiving the orders, and as she gets that phone call, that's one of the beautiful scenes in the movie is that it's just no dialogue really, and it's just her, just like, here we go,
Final chapter. Here it goes.
yeah,
Because she knows very likely there's a good chance she's going to die on this,
yeah.
right? Like clearly they don't intend that to happen, but it's very likely, or a good chance of it.
But I mean, you look at, you know, Nanami. She, as a runner, ended up dying anyway, and Kay is also a runner. So you know what I mean? It's like, even beyond this controversy and what's going on here, and her being hired in to do whatever she's to do. The likelihood is, if she had resumed her operations with the People's Democratic Front or whatever it is, that she would have ended up dying anyway. So it's just like, do you go out like kind of doing something, or do you go out just pulling a satchel charge in a sewer?
Right. I think it's the People's Front of Japan,
So.
or is that the Democratic People of Japan, or the Japan's Democratic Front? or it's the
They gave
front of the
for
Democrat. Anyway.
Nanami that she started as the Japanese student democracy organization, and then she got expelled, and then she joined the Red Front, and then she joined something else, and then ended up with whatever.
So here's an interesting thing about that in real life is that during the student turmoils in the 60s and the 70s, these organizations were actual student body organizations at the university. So when you went to these universities, if you happened to have one of these political parties, I think there was one at Tokyo University where if you were a student, you were automatically enrolled in the student party, and they actually took money from you automatically, and it was like a shakedown. And so you were on, whether or not you actually did anything with them, you were considered to be part of this, because this is going to sound really weird, but just as students, they were actually became very political and fighting against the university, from hiking up tuition, things like that. And they were getting kind of violent about it. So if you can imagine, and if you can imagine that today, with you're gonna shut down ethnomusicology now, to arms. But that's basically what it was, except for broader issues. So when she's going through that process of okay, I was this, so she was in a legitimate organization that had leftist ties that went into and she got expelled as a result of some action she probably did.
Right.
And then she went into these other organizations and became part of, was it the sect? And
Yes, the sect.
And then she became a runner, a gun runner, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
We call them munitions. No.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to be clear, the student protests of the 60s and 70s, they were violent. We're talking.
Yeah.
And look them up. The photographs are amazing. I mean, it's literally college students throwing Molotov cocktails at police. In fact, to that point, something I wanted to bring up, that whole opening 10 minutes or so is a very accurate representation of the student riots at the time. Besides just and it's one of the great things about the film is, you have those kind of recreated photographs, but this really puts you into it. It makes you feel what that was like on both sides, because you have the students protesting, all the police going, the hell? What's going on here? This is
right.
not what we're this is not what we're used to dealing with, not what we're trained to deal with. How do you respond to this?
Well, that's brought up by Fusei's superior there.
Yeah.
It's just they're just trying to maintain order.
Yeah.
They're not trying to oppress anybody. They're not trying to suppress anybody. They're just trying to maintain order, and everything's gone insane. All these different departments are to each other. The sect is doing all this stuff, and it's just getting out of hand.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's
very much so.
It reminded me of the series Hyoka, where it's the students of the newspaper club or whatever. They find some sort of cryptic information about things that had happened with their parents. And it is kind of the result of the student protests and the student riots. People trying to basically bury their involvement. So it was kind of a mystery kind of thing, where it's why is this picture in this thing? Why are these people doing? Oh my gosh, they were all involved in the student protests, all in the riots, and they buried their connection so they could go on and have a life. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And if you've seen From Up on Puppy Hill,
not yet.
Oh
okay. Yeah. The middle school students in there, and it's set in the early 60s. The students in there are just starting to meet and talk about how we don't think this thing in the school is fair and we should do something about that.
Right.
And then going to their teachers and talking about that, and it was something that their prior generations would never have done. And it's that stepping stone, that is what led to those later things, or what grew into those later things. It's fascinating. And then as if things hadn't spiraled out of control enough, they spiral even further out of control as Fusei realizes what's going on and goes all Jack Ryan on their ass. And again, speaking of so many things, you see Fusei coming up the stairs and seeing the guy coming the opposite direction.
Yeah.
No dialogue, but it's like, what's he doing down there? And he goes into his room, finds the envelope. You don't see the photographs, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
You just see, those are the two. So he's,
Yeah, he just.
Well, I also find it really interesting that Fusei doesn't. I mean, this is a person that his name is the only name on the 2 lockers in that room.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the only person in that room. He sees somebody who we don't know whether he knows them or doesn't.
Yeah.
And he doesn't immediately say, "Who are you? What are you doing?"
Right.
He doesn't go into the room, find the pictures, and then turn around and go, "Who is that?" And then run down the stairs to try and nab this dude.
Yep.
No. He's just totally cool with it and just looks at the pictures down. I'm like, wow.
Well,
Yeah.
what they were, what the trainer was doing to him was isolating. It was isolating, but Fusei. I mean, because everyone else, because if you notice, like when he goes back into retraining, he's sitting by the washing machine, and the other trainees are, we need another person for the match, and
For Masha.
and they look at him, and he's just like, just staring off into whatever this season, and they're like, forget him. But he's purposely being isolated, for the trainer to get him to be part of the Wolf Brigade. And as he's so when that moment happens where he comes up and you see the guy walk away, and as you point out, he kind of really just knows what's going on, because the immediate thing he does is look for what it is that it is left behind. And and he gets it and he finds it, like we all say, he makes his decision. And I think that's the first moment that he actually becomes happy. He has action, he has a direction, and he knows which way to go.
And something.
And you see him how he leaves after he gets the phone call. Like everything is just executed perfectly. He shimmies, he shakes down the drain pipe. He's able to clear the fence and go into the
holy
cow!
The
right?
fluidity of motion when he gets up to the top and just flips over the top. I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
I know. I was
spent
thinking,
some time doing that one, didn't you?
Yeah.
I was like, let's draw that quickly.
I was like, as I watched that, I'm like, God, if I did that, I'd probably totally gut myself. Just totally biff it.
Well, I would think most people would throw their jacket over the barbed wire.
Right. He just said,
and then kind of go over. Hell no, he's just
doesn't need
pure
it.
physicality. Like,
Exactly.
Wow.
But this is the mission that he knows. This is the mission that he's supposed to be doing. He knows what the process, and everything he does for the next few minutes as he's meeting up, to be killed. He knows he's supposed to be killed or not killed but captured.
Yeah.
Knows all this, so he knows everything that's going on. And as you put it, he's Jack Ryan to everybody. And he just walked in there, but everything is calculated. He knows what he's doing. This is what he was trained to do, and this is what the trainer is looking for.
Yeah.
Right. The trainer is looking for him to do this, to get the girl, because that was the actual mission.
Yep.
Was to get her away
she
from
was
them.
the insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when the at the end or towards the end when they suit him up, he's just at that point he's just stone cold. He's just like he had that look. He had that look on his face. Goes, yep, ready for a day of murder.
Yep, pretty much. He's just doing the thing.
Let's go killing.
And it's what's so sad about the movie in many ways is that, as I say later on, he chose the pack. He chose this life, this experience, and as dehumanizing as it is, he's like, this is what I'm going to do because I've found like my people, so to speak. Which of course opened to the whole, that's what they say about terrorism, right? Like that,
right.
That's an experience there too. In fact, I remember earlier on, somebody says.
That's what they say about anime fans.
Wait.
Oh.
That this is their perspective, and this is how they think, and we think differently.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, our way of killing is okay.
Exactly.
Their
Yes.
way of killing is not okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're both killing.
There's a great episode of New Doctor Who called the Zygon Inversion, and where there is it's Al Qaeda. They basically set up a Doctor Who version of all that, where there are there's this alien race of shapeshifters who have all migrated, or many of whom have migrated to Earth, and they're all living on Earth hidden. But the powers that be discover that some of them want to take over the world. And there's this small percentage of them in the UK that want to take over the world. And so, of course, folks want to, round up all of them, and put them in camps and all that kind of stuff. And this war starts escalating. And the few who want to take over the world, they're instigating and doing all sorts of stuff. And it builds up to this confrontation where the Doctor manages to get the leader of the terrorists and the leader of the UK Special Forces group that is trying to fight them facing each other with the potential to kill each other. And long story short, starts to sort of mentally break down what they're actually doing and what the consequences of what they're actually doing. And there's this line where he says, when you press that button, whatever it is, to start the war, you never know who's going to die and whose children are going to burn screaming.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's kind of what it's doing here is that, you set up these organizations for very rational, understandable reasons, but then things happen. There are consequences of all of that on the people and on society. Because, this whole climax where he goes off to kind of get his revenge and take down all of these people, and by this point you're like, yeah, rah, rah, rah. You also, realize by the end that by doing this, he's now cleared the way for them to kill her, because now she's the only missing link. And it's like, that's what you did. And
I had held out hope for a little bit that they would be like, okay, now she's going to be on our side. We'll retrain her, and she'll be part of the pack. And it's just like, then his superior talks about a wolf can't be a human, and I'm like, oh no.
Well, when the when the guy pulls out the pistol and cocks it and starts walking over to her, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then again, notably, I should also point out he puts the gun in in Fusei's hand, and says something that I did not expect him to say, which is pull the trigger and end it all.
It's a double message.
It really is.
Choose.
It's either her or you.
Kill yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. I do like the way in the animation style when he put the C-96 in his hand. The animation was done with weight.
Yes.
So that exactly that shot you show there, the handle hitting his hand causes just the amount of weight that you would get if somebody had slapped a piece of wooden steel into your hand.
Yep.
I was like, wow.
Yep.
A lot of attention to nice details.
Yep.
Like
Somebody studied weapons and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And again, I mean, it has to be stated, when push comes to shove, he actually finally has an emotional reaction in real life.
Yeah.
Everything up to this point has been just dreams and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now suddenly he just can't stand it. He can't do it. And it's
Which
so
kind of
weird
makes
to
you
me.
wonder, he's already traumatized by having watched Nanami blow herself up. And it's like, where he has this emotional reaction with Kay, is this really what they wanted out of him?
Right, and
You know
that,
what I mean?
and I
Because it's like-
believe that is absolutely deliberately a filmic choice, because note, he doesn't shoot her. Right? They have to have the sniper basically take her out. And I'm like, here's the thing. He's going to know he didn't shoot her.
Yeah.
Like, he is very aware of firearms, whether he pulled the trigger and all that kind of stuff. Even if he's not processing in the moment.
That
he's
his
gonna figure that
team
out.
killed her.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and again, wheels within wheels. It's like, you think you have this all figured out.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I
you know,
just imagine him being. He's obviously been like kind of whacked out by the explosion,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and it's like I could just now it's all the cofferdam that has held back
Yeah.
his emotional state as it kind of burst open.
Yeah.
Have you completed the sacrifice of Constable Fusei?
Mm-hmm.
So that now afterwards he is going to be he's not going to be stable enough to do the things you need him to do, but he's rendered relatively harmless because his psychosis will maybe not make him a crazy maniac.
Mm-hmm. And this is the thing.
Stay tuned for part 2.
Right, exactly, yeah. But I think that the filmmakers are very much making that point that they may have created a killing machine here that's going to turn on them. Because remember, he just killed his best friend too.
Yep.
Right? And so he's processing that.
And not just a little. He
Hey, buddy.
super killed him.
And it's another one of the fascinating things about this is that you have this moment. You have in other movies, if Hollywood were trying to make this, there would be a moment in which the Wolf Brigade was backed into a corner, where they were facing some threat they couldn't handle, and they're you need to have that moment of crisis to come back from. They are invincible in this movie.
Yes, I would have thought the sewer combat with all the people coming down, which is kind of funny because the guys coming down in the sewer are using 9mm MP40s.
Okay.
And the team, the Wolf Brigade team, he has his MG42, which is using a full-sized 8mm round. And all of his teammates are using an FG42, which is a Fallschirmjäger shortened sort of version with a 20-round box magazine of the same full-sized 8mm rounds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we're talking somebody with a 9mm, which would hit you and stay in you, versus somebody who's firing a weapon at you that is a full metal jacket that will pass through you, the person behind you, and into the third person along the way.
Wow.
So it's like the Wolf Brigade is not when you think, oh, they're just, look at them, they're just plain clothes and they're going down there. No, they're carrying serious heavy weaponage where the people on the other end are not going to come out good on this at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just love how he has his little revolver, and
his P38.
Yeah, and he's just like, he knows he's gonna die, but he's just got, I guess, one last shot and ricochets off the shoulder. I'm just like going, why did you even bother?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? There was actually a better use for that, and just to take it away from Fusei to be able to.
Well, what Henry pulls at the end when he falls down the waterfall there in the sewer, he loses his P38. The last thing he fires is a Leuchtpistol.
Okay.
Which at the end of the war, the Germans had taken. A Leuchtpistol is a flare gun.
Ah, okay.
Given that the Germans, anything will work if you can do something. They literally fit like a small bazooka-styled round to go into a flare gun so that you could run up within like 10 meters, I don't know, of an armored vehicle, go, and then die.
Right.
So when he fires that thing and it goes, boo! Yes, they're like horribly inaccurate, even at 10 meters, and he's like a good 30 meters away from maybe, I don't know, but it's just like, ooh. I'm like, wow, that was stupid.
Well, and again, it was that and it gets to the fact that I think, from Henry's perspective, it's like, well, I could do nothing, or I could go out in a blaze of glory,
right?
And so I might as well fire and at least see if I could do some damage.
Actually, the reason why Fusei walked the chain of fire up to him was because Henry dropped out of the special forces because he couldn't take being hit with the training bullets. Right. And this is Fusei going, here's your fear, here it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. There you go.
I'm delivering the hurt.
Yeah.
There are a lot of animes that I adore the deep bass, like hard, harmonious kind of I loved that sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously what's going on is horrifying. But
Right.
whoever did the work on, the weightiness of things,
Yeah.
who did the work on the sound
Mm-hmm.
on this, just nailed that sense of like kind of guttural psychological trauma that thing.
Yeah. It's like a truck engine.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Deep and harmonically just tough to deal with. Was like, oh boy, that's man. Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, and what I also appreciate is how they do things like, if you or I tried to fire that gun, and he's just, there's some training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the study of it as well is interesting, using, because what he's holding is a bipod. So that the bipods for the 34 and the 42, they had a clip where it would look like a little stick, so that you could run with it and it would just kind of swing around. Mm-hmm. And then you'd pop the clip and it would pop open as a bipod, so that you could put the barrel down, and that it would give you kind of at least a reasonably stable position to sort of swing back and forth with. So I've seen photos of actual people from during the war actually holding on to the bipod like he's doing to stabilize it, and it requires you to forcing the front end down as much as you're trying to hold it to keep it from left right shift, but you're really just pushing that thing down because of the muzzle is just rising on it.
Yeah.
So Fuse is the man's strong, to say the least. I mean, the equipment that he's got on, guy's strong.
Mm-hmm.
The way he flipped the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah. And then, of course, taking out those guys to convince you the fact that he's not an Arnold Schwarzenegger beefy.
Yeah.
He's a skilled, can do all the things. Also, I want to call out the fact that, those red eye things are impossibly difficult to animate, because they are a separate visual element that you have to superimpose onto the cell.
Oh.
Which means for every frame you have to separately superimpose that, and in low light remember where the eyes are as it's moving along. Like they said when they did Original Gundam and the mono eyes on the Zaku's, it was just incredibly painful going back and trying to redo all those, trying to get all of those exactly positioned was horrific. Right. So, top notch there. Speaking of which, I want to talk about the animation. I think, and again, I don't know, but it sure looks to me like a whole lot of this movie is rotoscoped. And people usually hate rotoscoping. But the way the characters move in this, the way clothes flap around, the way all that happens, really feels rotoscoped. But for a movie that is so grounded, that is meant to be this alternate history, and that is about such weighty subjects, I think it really works. And they do a great job. I think they chose character designs that work well with that kind of approach. Right. Because you're not trying to match, giant anime eyes to rotoscoping, all that kind of stuff. Just take Flowers of Evil and put it right next to this. Yeah. Stylistically, the way that they made these characters, even if you rotoscoped it, they worked with the lines and the movement and the shading and made it as a sort of secondary thought, where it's, is this rotoscoped or not? Versus something like Flowers of Evil, where you're like, oh, just stop. Well, it's clear they used, exactly what you say, it's clear they used the rotoscoping for reference, right? We need to get this motion correct, so we're going to get the lines to that, but we're not going to match, line to line, frame to frame, everything. Look at Only Yesterday, where they did some rotoscoping there, and there's moments where it's like, oh, the lines on that person's face are popping in and out every 3 frames. But you don't really feel it here, so top notch there.
I love the cars.
Yeah, they were cool.
I love the
The
car.
Mercedes.
Nice.
I'm trying to figure out what there was a Fiat in there as well. One of the people had, and the VWs.
Oh yeah,
VW.
Nice.
bugs all over the place. Yeah. Where was the? There we go. Yeah, there's definitely a love for classic cars in this movie. I think.
Yeah, is that a Fiat
Yeah.
or I couldn't identify?
Yeah, it looks like a
what that
Fiat to
was.
me, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But yeah, it's fascinating. And Matt, you're absolutely right in the chat. The suicide bomber has that moment of regret right after she pulls the pin. He's there just for that second of realizing, but it's just enough to get there.
Haven't seen Mugen Train yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the thing when you don't have a delay. You know what I mean? Like you could, if you had a 5-second delay, you went, nah, throw it away. Like,
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep. It's a fascinating. Anything else we want to talk about Jin-Roh, the Wolf Brigade?
glad I
I
saw
had
it.
heard.
It's interesting.
I had heard a rumor a couple times over the years, and I honestly don't know if this is true or not. But that Jin-Roh is supposed to be a 3-part, so that the light novels were supposed to be part 1, the anime is part 2, and there was supposed to be a live action as a sequel to the anime.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not, but this is something I hear off and on. There is a live action version of the anime, which is
Meh.
There's also a live action Korean version, which we
Yeah.
mentioned before, which is set in a version of Korea where North and South are trying to re-merge, and there's all this tension, and so the Wolf Brigade is dealing with the tensions between North and South Korea. So
jeez.
I've
Wow.
not seen that, but it's on Netflix if you want to check it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And apparently, it was literally like the Koreans going, "Oh, can we please adapt this for us? Like this, yes, like this is a thing that totally works for us." And it was very deliberately, this concept adapts to the Korean situation very closely and was meant to kind of be that thing.
I wonder if it was ever shown in North Korea.
Probably not.
No.
Short answer, no.
No.
Longer answer, hell no.
No. But yeah, it's a fascinating film. Yeah, like I mentioned, I can understand. Some people just bounce off it because it is very slow. There are these long conversation scenes that don't seem to go anywhere, where it's just bureaucrats talking, and it is the tough thing. And I think going back to this movie, knowing what I know about Japan now makes it a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
don't know the history, if you're not familiar with, this is 60s Japan. If it's another country, it doesn't have the same impact.
I keep getting flashes of Ghost in the Shell.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? It's just like when there's the helicopter kind of
Okay.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
over the city, I'm like,
The shot of the canal with the boat in the canal.
Well, it's-
was
yeah.
very-
Yeah, I'm like-
uh-huh.
is Major Kusanagi somewhere around here? Like, is
Well,
something-
they are public security, they're
Yeah.
literally public security. So
I thought that was kind of funny because it's like, well, cool, okay.
yeah.
So I think if you
References.
also use that lens kind of thing, it makes the sort of slow bureaucratic talking like a little less tedious
Mhm.
because Ghost in the Shell does plenty of that.
Oh, yes.
yes. Aramaki loves
That
his
was
conversations.
like stereo out of the oh yeah. Getting some feedback here. What?
Yeah. Interesting. So Matt said there was a live action before Jin-Roh called Kerberos Saga. Interesting. Interesting. So, yeah, there's and it's one of those things. I'm sure every franchise has lots of plans that don't meet fruition. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are plans for sequels and such. But yeah. Anything else on Jin-Roh? Oh,
Stuff.
color.
Watch it. Color. Yeah.
Color.
I wanted to point out how drab this movie is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Purposely. Purposely, definitely. But even then, you have this imagery of the Red Riding Hood, and even with that, that is not a bright red.
Nope.
They very deliberately desaturated this movie dramatically.
Well, how about his training scene where you
Yeah.
flat by, or even in that the board of review?
Yeah.
There is evidently sunlight.
Yeah.
There is nothing bright. It's like the entire thing is. It's like there's a cloud cover.
Yeah.
Over the entirety of the whole entire bit of Tokyo, that it's just like you get this diffuse white light, but you don't have any direct sunlight.
Yep.
And I mean, there's shadow lines, and yet it's not bright. But, like, how are you doing that?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
After the war, the sun lost luminescence, and it's only 1/3 of its normal brightness.
Apparently.
Oh wow!
And I always love when a movie or when any work, pays attention to that aspect of the visuals, of saying,
Right.
oh, because that takes time, right? It takes effort to figure out how are we gonna, what our colors gonna look like. And like I've seen cells from this. It's not like they slapped a filter over it. This was their, these were their paints. These were their tones. Really impressive. Yep. So cool. That is Jin-Roh, the Wolf Brigade. And so we are going to be back in just a few minutes to talk about anime news and other stuff. We will see you in a moment. And we're back. Hello, everyone. I should come up with some kind of transition between those two things. Just say, get ready, everyone. Ooh, I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Like the rocking roller coaster at Disney MGM, where it's like 5, 4, 3.
Is it the Aerosmith one? The
Yes.
Aerosmith one?
Yeah, rock and roller coaster.
First time I rode that after staying in line for 2.5 hours.
And drinking heavily?
Oh, no. I'm not big with roller coasters, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
me neither.
I got in there and strapped in, and the speakers are right there, and they're like, "Oh, are you ready to rock?" And I'm like sitting there going, "No, I'm not."
You have your adult diapers on, because here we go. Ah!
Please,
Yeah,
oh,
initially they didn't have much in the way of like any kind of countdown.
Right.
So you would get into it, and it would be like, all right, crosstown traffic is busy. We're taking the expressway. And you had no idea. And then all of a sudden, blam, the thing's like 0 to 60 in nothing flat to a first inversion.
Right.
And then as years went by, it was like, I guess enough people were like, listen, I would like to not have a heart attack every time this thing takes off. So then they started that, crosstown, let's get on the expressway. 5, 4. And it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, because he literally went from "Are you ready to rock?" and you had like a millisecond to go for just to whimper out, "No, I'm not," and then you went off, and he started screaming like Krillin when he gets killed by Frieza.
Yeah. Which by the end of the ride, then you're like, I can't. Screaming a lot.
There's a coaster called, I think, the Green Goblin coaster, which was a freewheeling coaster. So basically, you were on rods attached to the track, but your seats could free spin.
So not only are you going up and down in circles and stuff, you're also going, yay!
It goes. And what's fascinating about it is that you would get roughly like 6 inversions over the course of the trip. And then after, and it got pretty good reviews. And after a little while, folks noticed it was going a little slower. And they're like, that's odd. That happens, right? Coasters get speed adjusted. Right. And then folks started reporting more soreness on the ride. And eventually the ride was like, taken down and shut down. Like nothing bad happened, but like it just kind of died. And
all the decapitations.
Or someone getting swung off. What?
Yeah. What folks realize, what folks have kind of diagnosed since, is that by going slower, it was actually harder to get rotations, but it was also harder on your body because you would do almost a rotation and then come back. And then do almost a rotation and then come back. And so you were getting jerked around in the seats a lot more than if you were just allowed to actually do the whole rotation.
Right.
So the ride actually got like much worse as a result of going a little bit slower.
So what do you think of the Green Goblin? Oh, it was...
As soon as I'm out of traction, I'll be going with it.
The general response is from guys is I guess I'm not having children anymore. It was just
that lap bar, a little snug.
Yeah, apparently. Well, it was like a whole harness thing too, because of course you can.
Well, I mean, they did that with Mission Space, where like it started out and it was like the complete vomit comet. And then they were like, okay, we're going to start dividing this up. There's like a run of this where it's just all the graphics and stuff and it doesn't really do anything. So those people who are like really motion sensitive can experience this. Then there's like a more mild version where it's like, a little bit of G's, but not as nearly much the spinny sensation. And then the regular version where it's like, okay, I want my martini like whipped, not shaken. Like, oh, here we go. Sweet.
Gotcha.
I took Dramamine when I rode it when it was only just the crazy ride, and I was blissed out for the whole day.
Wow.
I was like, I don't think the spinning motion's gonna work out well for me, so I'll just take some Dramamine. And it's just like, look at all the pretty colors. It's really nice. Can I take a nap on the coaster now?
So I will tell one other amusement park story. my older sister was on a, what do you call the rides where you're on like the big raft? It's like 6 people.
Oh, whitewater.
Yeah, whitewater
Like
raft.
log ride?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Not a log, like
Log
the
flume.
circular one. Not a log, like the circular one. Like the.
Oh, okay.
Oh, like Kali River Rapids at
Yeah,
Animal Kingdom kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
um,
River Rapid Ride.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
so you're not going really fast, but you're kind of being bounced around. My sister went on that at an amusement park, and you know how as you're going along, like they have various like control gates to sort of move things in and out. They left the gate open, and hers went out onto the lake,
What?
Sorry.
and just and just drifted out there for like half an
You're
hour.
just like, is this the ride?
And they're strapped in, right? Like it's locked, like they can't get out.
Well, geez, this isn't very thrilling. Whitewater, this is like,
Why is
the
everyone
movie.
pointing
What's
at
going
us?
on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is there a kid on a little jet ski going by? Is that part of the ride?
Yeah. So
Here comes the ferry boat. Whee!
Yeah, so they somebody came out to like, and then there's the other issue. How do you get it back? Like you don't have specialized equipment to like tow that back in, so they had to like figure out something to like rope it onto some jet skis or something and pull it back in. But yeah, she spent like an hour and a half.
We're gonna throw you a rope. Don't let it tip over. You'll all sink and die.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Like that was half an afternoon of
Yeah.
joy and fun at the amusement park.
Jeez.
It happens. I have another amusement park story of my mom, but we won't get into that right now because it's a long one. Anyway, how y'all
That's
doing?
for Brent After Dark.
Suffice to say, my mom got ill at an amusement park once. She was fine. Everyone was fine, but it was okay. So I got to tell the story now. She went to Disney World. My mom, proverbially got the fish, not the chicken. Whatever she got, just didn't agree with her. And so she went to. We were going through, and she was not feeling well. Finally, my dad went to Park Service and said, "My wife's not feeling well." And she said, "1 second, I'll find somebody." And she was whisked away to one of the secret, infirmaries, basically at Disney World.
Detention facility. I mean, infirmary.
No one must ever know.
And they had all these beds laid out and people and
Wow.
and they said come on over here, lay down, whatever you need, we'll be around. Well, the thing about Disney World is that they have characters who come to check in on the sick people. Oh, God. And so Chip and Dale and Goofy come over to my mom. God. And she said it was the funniest thing because she saw them come over and she was thinking, no, just don't. This is the last thing I want right now. And she says, and they came over, they got within 5 feet, just turned 180 degrees, went the other direction. Just like, that's not what she wants right now. That's no.
Hi there, pretty lady. How are you? Oh, it's everywhere.
Hey there, how's the appendicitis? Oh, geez, now you're vomiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And she was 35 or something where it's like, Chip and Dale don't need to comfort a 35-year-old woman.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, next, if I got hernia surgery again, I'd ask for that.
Yeah.
Have Chip and Dale come in right as I'm about to go out and have them dressed in like scrubs and stuff. I'll be like, oh boy, this can't possibly be good.
Is, you order that, and then a hunky guy shows up. Well,
wrong group. I said Chip and Dale, not Chippendale.
That's what you said, Chip and Dale. You asked for Chip and Dale. That's what you said.
I can just
I
imagine.
am a licensed neurosurgeon. Oh, well, that's better than costume characters. It's hell trying to get a scalpel into a giant paw.
I can just see him making going. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that out of you right now. Oh, I dropped the knife. That's okay.
You'll be fine. I don't want to be
Our
fine.
lawyers have an NDA for you to sign.
Gosh, there, you'll be just fine.
Okay, so we got to go there. There's a story. I hope you all are not too sensitive out there in watching this.
Chatland, or Liveland.
This is not funny. First off, this is not funny.
Can I still laugh though?
Yeah. So in Disneyland, you have Tom Sawyer's Island, and you have the ferry boats, the boats that come in.
Right.
Tom Sawyer raft things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, some decades ago.
The boy and his brother.
Nope.
No.
They
Boy
had,
and the Beast.
They,
No, that's a movie.
They had these lines that they would run. That they had to sort of tie down to like latch on to the boat there. And apparently, at one point, somebody did it wrong. It was not up to normal safety standards and so forth. And it's not funny. It's not funny. Guy reached down, did it wrong. It was under tension.
Oh.
And so it's not funny is the problem.
Okay.
The line released and took his head clean off. Yeah.
What?
Just full-scale decapitation. At Disneyland, in front of crowds of people and kids and just standing there. And you will never hear about it. Because Disney successfully told all the newspapers, we do not want this to get out. We do not want people to think that Disneyland is an unsafe place. We put measures in place. We've changed how those latches work and so forth and so on. It's never going to happen again. And people say there are still reports of people saying, yeah, this happened. Like I was there, or like eventually it made it into a newspaper somewhere where somebody said, by the way, 10 years ago, like this happened.
Jeez.
So imagine being, oh boy, we're at Disneyland. Isn't this great? Oh.
Can you imagine being the person who went, what is this? Why am I holding a head?
The
Why?
animatronics here are great. Oh.
This is amazing. Why are there no signs posted that said "Watch out ahead"?
Yeah. So getting off
he was
stuff,
the person who passed away was destined for greatness. They were the head of their class.
Moving along.
They were just about to watch the next episode of Max Headroom.
Watch it.
Oh, come on. Come on. I missed last week, so I got to get all this in. What have we been watching? Oh,
Yeah.
Moving on. We're trying to move ahead. Non Fury.
Mute you.
Obviously, I know.
I can't mute
You can also cut me out of the conversation. Oh, I'm sorry. Obviously, Non-Fury and Eurocamp, which I've started to realize the end song of Eurocamp, Ari, and I don't know what her last name is a stunningly beautiful song.
Oh, it is.
I got it when I also bought the Anglerfish song.
Okay.
So I got the Anglerfish song in my head when I'm doing that, and then like somewhere in the rotation that song comes up. So it's just kind of like, yeah, oh, I feel so like I want to go camping and like look over Mount Fuji.
Yep.
And then I'm really enjoying the Jobless Reincarnation, Mushoku Tensei.
Mm-hmm.
They're dealing with the sort of hentai elements of the 40-year-old Hikokomori reincarnated into an 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually dealing with it in like it's really interesting that
Cool.
he's very self-aware of his presentation, that he is 8.
Mm.
And yet he's still a perverted 40-year-old.
Okay.
So it's like and then I've been holding back on the redo of Healer. I need to be in a place in my own mind to see where that's going to go wrong. Right. Well, how it's going to end.
Yep.
And then just trying to, decamp from all my camping stuff that I had together. Just trying to deal with that. So thank you, Ice Storm, last weekend. That worked out great. So that's been the week.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I cleaned stuff. I did stuff, cooked stuff. Just great. That was fun. I enjoyed, when the next few days, I think I started watching your guys stream Thursday.
Okay.
And seeing that, Evan came by for a visit, all having fun. So
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Steve, how about you?
So, I'm doing okay. No.
Job's going well.
Speaking of the job, speaking of the job, no joke, I have homework on my job. So I for those of you in Chatland, I am back in the business of selling booze. So I have to, one of the things I have to do is learn stuff, and there's so much wine and liquor and beer out there that, one of the hard things about my job is I have to do homework and read up on stuff, and then actually have a lab.
For customer recommendations or for you?
Yeah, it is for customer recommendations and actually for ordering and things like that.
How much should we have of X?
Yeah. And so knowing
what's the latest, greatest thing from the Robert Mondavi?
Exactly. What's the latest, greatest, cheap thing? Maybe. And so I actually have a lab.
Natty Ice Extra. Oh, let's buy 80 cases of that.
People ask for that stuff.
They're bringing back Zima.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So not only do I have to read up on stuff and know things, there's an actual lab involved.
Oh.
So I get to literally, my boss will come up and go, "Okay, Steve, here's the write up. Here you go.
Read it, try it."
Literally.
Wow.
This is a free bottle of wine that I get to drink
Okay.
and do my lab on and learn. So that's I'm getting I'm getting paid to drink.
Hey.
Now when you get that, so when your boss comes up and says, "Here's the write up, here's the bottle."
Yeah.
If you pop that open, you go, "Wow, I would rather drink from a dirty puddle." Is there already the presumption that we're going to market this and this is going to be sold, so you have no choice, just do the best you can? Or can you, by your lab, say, "Hey, boss, this is terrible. This is just awful. We don't need this."
It kind of yes to it's kind of weird.
Yes to all of it.
Yes to all of it. So, for example, if this turns out to be crap, right? Glacial Till from the Finger Lakes, Cabernet Franc.
Oh wow! I probably had some of that.
And
you go to the New York State Fair in Syracuse, New York. They often serve Finger Lakes wines.
Yeah.
Not often. They always serve Finger Lakes. So that could be one of them.
So if I drink this and I don't like it, what I have to do is and I don't really have to convince my boss so much as I have to convince his boss, which is the owner of the licensing and also other entities that I have to deal with, and say, "Hey, this isn't that great. I know it's part of the program, so why don't I just do a test buy of 5 cases and I'll put a display up and we'll see how well it does." Blah blah blah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
That kind of thing. So but then if I get something that's really good, really great, was it the other day we had Gonzo Flying Dog. Gonzo bourbon barrel aged Imperial Stout. It's a 4-pack right? Yeah, $20 for a 4-pack and 4-pack of bottles.
Yeah, but if it's good, then it's.
But it's good, and it's I'm okay. And then my part of my job then becomes, they say, "Okay, well, you get 1 case to sell." I'm like, "What?" All right. So then it becomes part of my job to find different distributors and see if I can get more in and all that stuff. But on top of doing all that stuff kind of thing, because my job pays me well to do something I enjoy.
Hey, it's a good thing.
Can't argue with that. I am coming back to a book that I did not finish, that I hope to finish. It's pretty good. It's no, I
Battlefield
Earth.
That.
Yeah. No. Good God, no.
Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard.
Have you read that stuff?
I've tried.
It's maddening.
No, I just remember the infomercial from the 80s. Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard.
With the volcano.
Yeah.
So I had gotten for my birthday this past June a book called 2113.
Okay.
And it's all based on their short stories written by actual good authors, based off of Rush songs. So if you're a Rush, that's 20. That's supposed to be 2112.
Okay.
Is the author today's Tom Sawyer?
Mute his ass.
Oh, come on! Oh, you dare!
but so it's actually pretty good because the original story. Speaking of songs, the original story that Red Barchetta is based off of, that Neil Peart wrote, based off, is actually in here, which was actually a story written for Popular Mechanics.
What?
Yeah, fiction for Popular Mechanics, if you can believe that.
Okay.
All with an improvisational mark.
Cute.
Nice.
Cool.
So got that. Watching I'm a Spider, So What, because it is enjoyable and it's just, honest to God, people just watch this thing. It's no Jin-Roh.
Okay.
Because you want something light sometimes, and this is just something enjoyable to watch, and it's just fun. And I have started because again at my job I have a magazine called the Wine Spectator, Wine Spectator. And there was in the January 15th issue, there was a small interview with a manga couple, or actually they're not a couple, they're brother and sister, who have done this manga called Drops of God.
Oh yes.
It started in 2004. It's about 44 volumes. I just started it, and it's all about the wine experience. So the premise of the story is.
Oh wow.
So the premise of the story is basically a son of a well-known sommelier who is also has a amazing library of wine worth around $2 billion US dollars. His father dies, and it turns out that he has a half brother, and the father in the will sets them up to compete for the library, the wine library.
Gotcha.
And what they have to do is travel around the world to find the 12 apostles. The apostles are each a bottle of wine. So not only do they have to follow clues and things like that to find the wine, then they have to. It's in a blank bottle, and they have to taste it, and they have to be able to say what this one is, the brand, the affiliation, the whole nine yards. And if they get it right, then then they get the apostle, and it's like the one who can get the most wins.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of at the beginning of it, and the cool thing about it is that the wines that they talk about in the manga are real wines.
Cool.
So it's not anything made up. And the first, if you know your wines, then the actual first part, the first chapter is a little bit predictable, but it's kind of fun because it talks about decanting wine. So like if you have like a wine that you drink, that you uncork it and then you recork it, and you have it like the next day or a few hours later, and it tastes different, does taste awful. There's a way that you decant, that you put it into a decanter, the way that you pour it, that can increase, put the taste back into it, so to speak.
Gotcha.
It's a fun. So if you are looking to get into wine, or if you are just already a wine snob like I am.
So if you're an audiophile.
Yes. And by the way, at work I do have a fine wine room that is climate controlled the whole 9 years. So
now we know where to find Steve in the summertime. Oh, it's nice in here. It's not too cold. It's not too hot.
Who's the big guy in the corner just drinking? You like this one? Take it.
Goes great in a brown paper bag. Yeah, finished. I watched Jin-Roh 3 times.
So, but it's fun so far. So it's a cool little thing.
Cool, nice. I've not been watching much anime. Caught up on Laid Back Camp, which is great fun. Despite the drama of episode 5, I guess it was, with the cold snap,
actually freezing to death.
Yes, oh, very scary. I have been reading some manga though. John, you weren't here last week. I mentioned the Apothecary Diaries, which is
I'd seen that by watching you guys having your.
So
an error occurred. Please try again later.
On what?
It just popped on the screen on YouTube.
Okay, I don't know what's going on there.
I'm hoping that's my end.
Yep, it looks okay on my end. I'll keep an eye on that. But
behind.
so I've been keeping up with Apothecary Diaries. Got through volume 2 of that, and continuing her story is her fame is increasing on the court, which is a lot of fun. Also reading more of Granny Girl Hinata-chan, about the 88-year-old woman who reincarnates as a little girl. And
Which I tried to get that, but my Kindle won't support it.
There's some drama. Like, there's some serious stuff that happens in this. It's a light comedy,
Right.
but there's some stuff that happened in the past that they deal with a little bit, which is quite nice. I wouldn't say it ever gets it definitely never gets depressing.
Right.
There's one sequence in I think volume 4 where it gets sad. There's a sad sequence in that. But other than that, it's cute little girls running around. Also want to call out in volume 3 she goes to first grade. So they're actually she graduates from kindergarten, goes to first grade. So it is progressing. She's getting older as the story goes along, which is kind of nice.
So she's 88 plus whatever number the child is.
I guess 94. I guess. But yeah, so that's fun.
Are they showing any indication that that things will fade?
Has
that ever been addressed?
Big questions.
Okay.
So. I can get into it for spoilers, but yeah, one of the themes is kind of do you move past your old life or not? Do you want to move past your old life, right? All that kind of stuff.
Because that's for all the isekai landslide that there is in the world.
Right.
It's very few and far between. I honestly can't remember, but I think I've maybe seen less than a handful where somebody reincarnates. And they remember up to a point, and then things the older they get, it's they're completely crystal clear and sharp until a certain point, and then things start to fade away, and they are the person they've become.
Oh, okay.
So they're no longer Bob from wherever. They're now whoever this person is, and they don't remember anymore.
Yeah, no,
but it's very rare to get that.
So, okay, very small spoiler. Hinata meets another girl who also reincarnated. Yeah. And that's where some of the drama goes on. And the little girl kind of wants to deal with what happened there because she wants to forget her old life.
Okay.
Whereas Hinata has very fond memories of her past life. And she wants to enjoy the moment and enjoy her new life, but she also wants to keep her past life. And so it's that kind of thing of... and there are now things going on with Hinata where because as I mentioned before, she reincarnated into the same neighborhood. So she has the opportunity to interact with people from her past life. And it's where do you draw the line? At what point do you kind of move on? All that kind of stuff.
Sort of like the Kotora-chan, the Kotora was a series where a girl had mind-reading abilities.
Okay.
And she didn't mean to alienate people as a kid, but she knew things about things that she shouldn't have known, and that got her isolated. So I can see that being kind of oh yeah, such and such or other. Be like, how do you know that? Why is...
Well, this is what they do have some fun stuff in Hinata-chan because she was born fully conscious.
Wow.
Yeah. So in the crib, she's doing exercises to get herself, stronger so she can do stuff. And her older brother, who is I don't know, 8 years older, the parents just think she's cute and she's doing the parents kind of don't want to process it. And the other brother's my little sister's a genius. He totally can tell all the
So I see where this manga's going. The brother goes, my little sister's a genius. And he's approaching her with the pillow.
No.
And so
takes her out on the street and has her tap dance, and he puts a hat down and plays the violin and make money. Yeah. Dance, baby, dance.
Yeah, no, he has a very they have a very sweet relationship actually, where he likes her a lot, but he's also a little bit kind of awed by her in a weird way. But yeah, I should also point out, I want to go back to the Apothecary Diaries for a second, because Volume 2 does deal with something that it was a little shocking and folks should be aware of. It does deal with the fact that she's spending time with the Emperor's four main concubines. The previous Empress, I think, died in childbirth. And so this kind of who is going to be the next queen, right, is amongst all these concubines. And they deal with the fact that, particularly for the previous emperor liked them young. And being the emperor, that's okay, right? Like you can do that.
Not really.
Well, yeah.
Really.
And the manga does a very good job of having like Mao Mao, the main character, be like, yeah. But also being like, he's the emperor. Like I'm not gonna go around with signs protesting this. Like, and the current emperor is not like that at all, right? Like he is no. But it is kind of I appreciate the fact that they kind of work in the fact that this was a thing that happened, and this is a thing that then complicated a lot of court life, because you had people of very wildly different ages, and this much younger person than you could have much greater status than you, and all that kind of weird stuff. So it's creepy when it comes up, but it's also treated as creepy. So just be aware of that.
What time period is it set?
I don't know, actually. It's definitely not modern times.
Let's just say, because if we're talking like Emperor Shah Huandi,
Right.
freaking 500 BC.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like that.
Yeah, different.
Young probably would be hopefully not terribly young, but young enough to be a survival strategy that she would be able to be robust enough to survive childbirth.
So they actually deal with that. There's a sequence where Mao Mao it all starts because Mao Mao sees the princess's or somebody's mother, and is like, wow, she that princess is like 15, and the mother looks like she's in her mid-20s. She looks so young, and it's like, she is. And in fact, in the speech bubble, it says she actually gave birth when she was bleep years old.
Oh.
Yeah, and Mama was like, that must have been difficult. Moving right along, and it's like, So it's one of those things. And I just looked up on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia doesn't say, so I'm not sure when it's set. But yeah, so and again,
Classical
one of those
Chinese
right,
history.
Exactly. And again, I bring it up because the manga kind of deals with it and moves on, but it can be one of those things where you're like, if you stumble across that online, you may form an improper understanding of the manga.
Right.
But enjoying that. So looking for Excel Saga Volume 26, Endman. Best of luck. You got Bunny Drop, Endman. Cool.
Usagi Drop. Fun.
Yes. I am not a fan of the end of Usagi Drop the manga.
Nobody is.
Yeah, it apparently not popular in Japan, not popular in America. It's a highly disliked ending, and I can see why. I will say it is very much set up and built up too, so it doesn't feel like it comes completely out of the blue, but it still feels just like the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Very strange. But
it's not the kind of loving relationship that you would expect that ending towards.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like you'd expect more of like, I appreciate you, thank you, for rescuing me from all these things that happened, and you will be eternally a place in my heart.
Right.
And moving on.
Yeah. Well, and the other weird thing is, I would also be okay if they didn't move on, but they were just, we're gonna live together, right? And we're just gonna be, living it. That's fine. But goes in a much stronger direction than that.
Yeah.
Weird.
Providing an ending that maybe wasn't necessary.
Exactly. Yes. Strange thing. Strange thing. Y'all hear that?
Here's something.
And welcome back to the latest anime news for the week ending February 27th, 2021. Let me switch over here to the first one. Well, it's finally happened. The Mugen Train completed its complete domination of the Japanese film charts last year and has now moved on to conquer the entire world. As of this week, and the current currency exchange rates, Mugen Train has earned more than $399 million and surpassed Spirited Away to become the highest earning Japanese film of all time worldwide. The film opened this week in Australia and New Zealand, and to no one's surprise, ranked at number 1 on its first day in both of those countries as well. As most of us probably remember, it had the biggest opening of all time when it premiered in Japan and spent 13 of 14 weeks at number 1 on Japan's box office, dropping only once on Gintama The Finals opening weekend. It'll bring its conquering journey to North American theaters soon. An Oscar qualifying week of screenings is also taking place this week in Miami, so don't be surprised if Mugen Train shows up again, breaking more records in the future. I gotta say, I kind of don't know what more to say about Mugen Train at this point.
I don't think there is anything to say. I mean, it's just... From now on, it's just going to keep opening and keep rolling and opening and rolling, and it's.
I feel like the next thing that needs to happen is that we have to bring in a laptop somehow or something and live stream the movie.
Yeah, we gotta see
and see it and just go, okay,
yeah,
you're done, done.
Yeah.
And then goes over to Steve's pachinko parlor.
Yep.
Follow the pink neon sign.
For the exclusive ending.
Price is Right rules. How much will it make?
In America?
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
It says 399.
Yeah, it hit basically 400 million so far.
1.9 billion.
I'm going to go a little bit lower, 1.2.
Okay, I'm going to go 1.5. I'm hoping, later this year, when it's hit everywhere, we'll come back and we'll see how we did. I'm curious.
All right.
Yeah, I'd like to find out just how it goes. Watch, it'll be 5 billion. It's gonna go crazy. Who knows?
Or everyone's just going to open up their wallets or bank accounts and check to see how much money they have, and it's just gone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
all
all
the
the money.
from Mugen
All
Train
the
that says thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just we're done. Moving right along, the Publishing Science Institute, which surveys and researches Japan's publishing industry, published a report this week on the 2020 manga market. The fact that the report found an increase in the market is probably to be expected after a year of everyone staying at home and reading more. But the amount of increase is quite impressive. The manga market increased 23% from the previous year, reaching nearly 613 billion yen, or about $5.75 billion US dollars. This is the highest peak the market's ever hit since the statistics began way back in 1978. The previous peak was 586 billion yen in 1995. Moreover, the sale of paper manga publications increased 13%, which is, of course, credited in large part to Demon Slayer, though its huge success also encouraged an increase in other popular series as well. Sale of digital comics were unsurprisingly up the highest, increasing by 31% from the previous year. Nihon Shuppan Hanbai, a major Japanese publishing agency, also made a report about the year's sales this week. A survey across 1,700 stores found that last year in-store sales rose 4.3%, making 2020 the first time the sales number has exceeded the previous year since 2000, the year the survey began. Manga made the vast majority of the increase, with physical manga sales up in stores by 31.5%, and I bet you can guess what series contributed the most to that number. Book sales, on the other hand, decreased by 1%, while magazines struggled the most, down nearly 9% from the previous year. And that in itself I find kind of interesting, because, magazines are fun, magazines are cool, and the Japanese magazine market is pretty darn robust. So, not sure what's going on there.
They said, forget magazines, Mugen Train. Anything Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't need any other things.
Right. This is all my
Which all of this manga, it makes me, now I'm starting to really understand why I can't get any Hello Kitty toilet paper.
There we go.
All of the pulp stock is going into making damn manga.
Exactly. Right. I'm curious. I'm assuming that they don't that Shonen Jump counts as manga. Just to be clear.
I would
Yeah,
bet.
yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
So Good Housekeeping and Southern Living are just taking a beating this
Right.
year.
Yeah, Southern Living, a very popular magazine in Japan, I'm sure.
Well, especially in Okinawa.
Yeah, exactly.
Big
Yeah.
Southern Living. Never mind. Skip it.
But it's funny. You'd think, who wouldn't want a copy of Hobby Link Japan or of I forget the name of the
Popular Mechanics.
What is the name? The popular Japanese hobby like Gunpla Kit kind of magazine. But why wouldn't you want any of those? Hobby things, Megami Magazine, all those things. Why wouldn't you want those at home? I don't know.
Are they converting rapidly to digital? I mean, is it just literally people are now subscribing digitally, and they're just like, I don't need a mail copy. I got my reader on my phone.
Yeah.
I'll just do
the
it
magazine
there.
itself is shifting, so that totally makes sense.
Well, I know a lot of magazines. Was it History Magazine?
Right.
And
Switch.
one I got years ago, it was like World War II Monthly, became quarterly, and it became like the quarterly military history report. And it was like I used to get it 12 episodes, 12 issues a year, and then I got 4.
Yeah.
And not like, it's take all 12 worth of content and make it into 4, so you got a really thick magazine. No, it was like, where did all the content go?
Yeah. Make Magazine famously went all digital when that was a very physical magazine for a long time. And that was O'Reilly. Like they're doing fine, but hard to keep it up.
Did Mad and Cracked survive?
No.
Cracked and Mad. Well, the last Mad was sold. What?
Fairly
5
recently.
years ago?
Yeah.
5 years.
A couple years ago.
5 years ago,
Yeah.
Which is too bad,
Yeah.
because I'd like. I mean, I'm a hoarder.
Well, who doesn't love Mad Magazine, right?
But
well, it's very hard with the digital version to do the fold and part of the back cover.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work like that.
Not really the way that works.
No.
So yeah, but yeah, also interesting just that manga has buoyed so much of that. It's kind of interesting to me because I guess the advantage of manga is that over, say, book sales, is that books are just a lot easier to Kindleize. It's a lot easier to justify. I'm just gonna get this on my Kindle. It doesn't really matter. It's just words, right? Like there's having the physical thing is cool and is good, but it doesn't quite have the same sachet as having the actual art there on paper, the resolution, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So. Although I think we're seeing a change in that. There are enough devices out now that have enough high resolution screens where it's like, the manga looks good on screen. So we'll see if that.
I wouldn't know. I haven't gotten there yet, but I will eventually.
Don't worry. Cool. Moving right along to some interesting Ghibli news. Spirited Away might have moved to number 2 in worldwide film ranking, but the beloved story is still going strong. Toho revealed on Friday that Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli's masterpiece is inspiring its first stage play adaptation. Tony and Olivier Award-winning director John Caird is writing and directing the production, which will open next February in Tokyo, then tour across Japan through the spring and summer. Ghibli producer Toshio Suzuki commented positively on Caird, saying, "We, Hayao and I, both liked John's vision. He is a person we can trust. I'm looking forward to seeing Chihiro grow on stage under his direction. I could tell how much he adores his story from his delighted face when I gave him a no-face piggy bank." A no-face piggy bank. That's a decision.
That was what was available at the Ghibli store.
Do we remember what no-face is the money? Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, Goro, you got anything on the sales shelf or something? I got to give somebody something. Here you go.
And when they say Chihiro grow on stage, there are 2 actresses playing Chihiro. There's going to be a younger and an older version of Chihiro on the stage, which was interesting. And both of the actresses are also anime voice actors, which is kind of cool.
Huh.
They've done anime voice acting in the past, plus many other things, obviously. But
so that's a very positive sign for opening up in Japan, I think. Because right now, if we were trying to do a play here in Baltimore, the local government would come in with cops and go, no, not happening.
Yeah.
So there's some, it looks like some hope for a theatrical release.
Stay tuned.
Ooh.
Absolutely, yes. So, moving on to this story.
Bum, bum, bum.
Netflix announced this week that it is partnering with Skydance and Production IG on an anime series for the Terminator franchise.
Another one.
Mattson Tomlin of Project Power and The Batman will serve as showrunner and executive producer for the show. President and CEO of Production IG commented on the project, saying, quote, I asked my longtime friend and colleague Mamoru Oshii what he thought about the idea of turning Terminator into an animated series. His response was, Ishikawa, are you out of your mind? At that instant, I was confident we should get on board. As huge fans, our team at Production IG is putting their heart and souls into creating this series. We hope fans will enjoy it. I don't know what that says about Mamoru Oshii. The sci-fi action franchise began in '84. Obviously, the original Schwarzenegger film.
Wow.
There was a collection of animated shorts back in 2008, but they were never released. And a short computer animated web series in 2009. There was a prequel to the video game. The T-800 has appeared in anime form once before, in an official authorized cameo in Doraemon in 2009. Yep. The dream matchup was described by Japanese press as a confrontation between America and Japan's famous robots.
Oh boy.
So I actually saw one of the fan built ones, which was Batman survives the takeover. Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
And he's
Day.
going up Judgment Day, and he survives Judgment Day, and his mission is fighting, Skynet. Yep. And so there's a it's on YouTube somewhere, and it's been around for a while now, but it's just him in the Batmobile from the Dark Knight comic book, so it's the big tank one. One.
Yep.
Okay. And going after the T-800, and it's a fun 5-minute romp, but it's just action. It's just
Cameron's stuff has always been sort of anime-esque. There's always been kind of this action-y, slightly not over the top, but fantastical aspect to his films a lot, I think. I think Terminator certainly could work. And it has the advantage that it's not too wild, that it would be like hard to adapt into animation. Although, granted, anime has managed to adapt all sorts of amazing, weird things. So I think it's fun. I'm not sure why Ishikawa called out Mamoru Oshii. I don't know if they're having a tiff or something. It's just kind of weird. But
it's just name dropping.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
I mean, like, oh, the people consulted for this series were Oshii.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. I told you were insane. We still talked about it. Gotcha. Gives cred.
And Production IG, they're all nerds, right? Like they'll definitely have fun with it.
I will be curious to hear, Brent, your review when you see the first episode of it.
Okay. Yeah. I will.
Actually, you know what? Speaking of Production IG,
maybe we'll all be watching the first episode of it, doing the review. Who knows?
I think there should be Production IG should do a Jin-Roh versus Terminator.
Yes. There we go.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure who'd win in
versus Predator.
Versus Predator.
Alien.
Yes, Alien.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There we go.
Didn't we have that movie already?
Alien versus Predator?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Fun. Let's see here. Also this week, few news stories to mention. Might dig in, might not, depending on things. So yell out, guys, if you want to mention anything. After 2 delays, thanks to COVID, the final Evangelion film has gotten another, hopefully final this time, theatrical release date. The film's premiere, which was originally set to take place June 27th of last year, will now be on March 8th. Free streaming service Tubi, as in Tubi, available in the US, Mexico, Canada, and Australia, has partnered with Toei Animation to release some anime titles for free streaming. About 500 episodes from 6 different anime series are included. Gegege no Kitaro, Dr. Slump, Toriko, Slam Dunk, Saint Seiya Saintai Sho, and Saint Seiya Hades, as well as 6 One Piece specials. And this will be the first time that Dr. Slump...
Not?
Say what?
The One Piece, I'm like, why not?
Yeah, exactly. It'll be the first
Actually,
time...
I'd be curious about the Dr. Slump.
Yeah, it'll be the first time Dr. Slump and Saint Seiya Hades are in English.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
cool.
I didn't know that.
If it's not clear, Dr. Slump is the first hit by Akira Toriyama, who did Dragon Ball. So his sort of lead into Dragon Ball. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Kananja's Afternoon magazine revealed this week the next month's issue will bring a special short of Mushishi, the manga, titled The Shadow That Soars Through the Land. This will be the first manga content for the franchise since 2013.
Wow.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite virtual idol will soon be taking over another stage. Krypton Future Media, one of the most awesome names ever, revealed this week it is co-developing an original animated series for its Vocaloid Hatsune Miku. They're also working on an original series of webtoons and comics. The project will, quote, enter the story of the Miku-verse that will combine live action, animation, and music, end quote.
Live action?
Then?
Live action.
Miku.
Really? Yeah, Miku.
Why not? They've done the stage shows.
Well, but I mean, are you talking like live action, like when she was on like Letterman, or like her stage shows where she's live, or are you gonna make, or is somebody going to be Miku? You know what I mean? Because it's like that's the neat part about her is the fact that she's this digital personality. If you just, and no offense to whoever would play her, but it's like that's not why I think Miku's cool. It's not that she's a person; it's that she's like a virtual person. That's neat. That's a neat thing. But that's
Yeah, we'll see. Who knows?
I need a pair of the like swirly glasses. 2D girls are much better.
Yeah, no idea how this is going to turn out. So
Yeah.
TV Tokyo announced this week a new anime coming in the Yokai Watch franchise. Yokai Watch note character, like a little
Musical
sound
note.
Musical note. I don't know. Premiered on April 9th, which will feature new and returning yokai. The 4th volume of The Eminence in Shadow is Skylight novel series confirmed an upcoming anime adaptation. The story of Sid, a teenage boy who believes in a secret shadow world outside of reality, who is, of course, killed by a car this time, and transported to a world where his fantasies can be lived out.
Karkun?
Yeah, Karkun.
Karkun. Truck-kun's little brother.
Exactly. Kanekawa announced this week that In the Land of Lee Dal, light novel series, is inspiring an anime. Interesting, a story is about a girl terribly injured after an accident who finds her only freedom in a VR world. And then her life support begins to fail. And she wakes up in a world that seems like the VR game, but 200 years in the future? So,
Didn't they do that in SAO?
Did they?
I think they did. It was after the oh gosh, what was the elf one? Einkrade is the first SAO. Then there's the second one that was Leafa, his sister was in it, and Asuna was trapped in the golden cage.
Okay.
The hell was that one called? I don't know. But they had a girl in the next series where she was dying, and they had her, they sort of inserted her into SAO so that she could experience running around and doing stuff and adventuring and everything else because she physically was dying. And then the current SAO incarnation has something about fluct lights and like these soul things they're trying to create, and in this virtual world Kirito gets injured and his soul is in the whatever.
Dot Hack Sign did it, back in '99.
Yeah.
So, Tsubasa, I think, was the character in the wheelchair.
This is not a new thing that they're digging, but certainly we'll see how it runs.
Yeah, curious to see what they do with it. Interesting to kind of focus on that. We'll see. A new Twitter account opened this week to reveal a TV anime adaptation of the RPG Real Estate manga. It's a 4-panel following a mage who ends up working at a real estate agency in a fantasy world, trying to find the perfect home for unusual clients. Sounds fun.
Okay.
Shogakukan announced on Monday a TV anime adaptation in the works for Ore Tsushima, a manga about an elderly lady with several cats, and the new brazen cat Tsushima, who appears in her yard. Sounds like a drama to me.
Oh, sounds just enticing. I can't imagine what could be more fun.
I want to watch an anime. I want cat ladies.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Oh, good Lord.
There is no way it could go wrong. There is no way it could be boring. There's no way it could be just terrible. It'll be awesome.
He keeps bringing dead things to her.
If you could somehow tap into like the healing element of like Non-Non-Buri and Eurocamp and make it about just the quiet, peaceful beauty of a well-maintained house, a well-maintained yard, and the sort of interaction that you get from a beloved pet with a pet's beloved owner. Mm-hmm. Genuinely, I might actually watch that. Yeah. Because that would center me for like the day where I could be like, okay, I just feel really chilled out. Versus my roommate is a cat, where it was like a little frenetic with the whole cat thing.
Kind of like Galandino.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, I think that they should adapt. You were talking about kind of like pastoral type of scenes and stuff like that. They should adapt another very calming classical story to an anime. I think they should make Watership Down a nice children's anime.
They already did the CGI series, right? They've already done that. That's what, 12 episodes of Watership Down? Why not?
Yeah.
Just go for it.
I'm not sure how relaxing that would be.
Or perhaps Bridge to Terabithia. How about that?
Yeah. Pan's Labyrinth? No. What?
No.
Finally, the Japanese government has officially decided to lift the state of emergency early in 6 prefectures.
Yay.
The state of emergency will lift tomorrow in Aichi, Gifu, Osaka, Kyoto, Hyogo, and Fukuoka, but will remain in effect until the planned March 7th in the 4 prefectures around Tokyo. Yasutoshi Nishimura, the minister in charge of COVID-19 response, said, quote, "We'll relax the restrictions in phases in order to avoid a new wave of infections," end quote. About 40 prefectural governors met this week to discuss measures for preventing a resurgence of cases, and several stated that some restrictions will remain in place even when the state of emergency has been lifted, but still starting to return back to normal.
I can start planning to take the Gundam.
Now, you promised you wouldn't talk about that on air. You promised.
Oh, damn it.
We got to keep that a secret, man.
And now the Japanese security service is going, get a face shot out of that guy.
Is joking.
That crowbar and that wrench he has is totally fictional. Do you have anything to declare, sir? Nothing. This Gundam pilot manual, nothing. And the suit to go, no.
No.
Yeah.
Those are pajamas. What?
I just like Gundam. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would like to see you steal the Gundam. I would like to see how you do that.
God, you're like daring me. It's like 2 weeks later, you're gonna be 2 weeks later. I'm gonna be like on the news. Insane white man tries to steal Gundam.
C5 Galaxy lands unexpectedly with a short takeoff landing. Team of 200 crack specialists steal Gundam. What?
I don't even think a C5 Galaxy could touch that thing.
You probably could. You'd have to take it out of the gantry.
Yeah.
I mean,
right,
the honest to goodness truth is you would have to sever it from its hydraulic support system. Mm-hmm. And then it's just a giant motionless vehicle monster.
Look, Baltimore
and you throw
needs
it in the back of a C5.
Baltimore needs a Gundam.
Boy, wouldn't that be an international experience? Like, hi, the Minister of Japan is here to speak with you, Mr. President. What about? Apparently a Gundam has appeared that they own. It's in Baltimore.
Let's see here.
What?
What are you talking about?
Gundam statue weight. How much does that thing weigh?
200 tons.
Let's see here. 50 tons. How heavy is an Abrams?
25.
I think it's heavier than that.
Abrams tank. According to this name on Abrams is 68 short tons.
And if you can fit 2 in a C5 Galaxy, you could fit a whole Gundam in there.
Which is 2,000 pounds. But yes, that's a ton, right?
Yeah.
If it can take 70, yeah, I guess technically it has the carrying weight. I don't know if it could fit physically.
Well, I mean, once you get the gantry off, it should shorten it from shoulder width. Just a question about how the loading I don't know what the cargo loading.
Yeah.
Because remember, a C5 that you can pop the nose, so you can roll it in with less obstruction.
Yeah. Well, the
To
question
be
is
honest,
it long enough?
To be honest, if I could get it on a ship.
No, you need to rapidly get this out of the country, Steve. This is not something you're going to be like, I'll just take it down and take 6 weeks to get someplace. No, you need to get the hell out of town with that thing. Which means for a C5 Galaxy, and I'm not sure whether it's doable, I know for C-130s, you can use JTOL rockets so that you can do a short takeoff with it, and you fire the JTOLs and lift off in a very short runway. I do not know whether that has ever been airframe tested for a C5 Galaxy.
No. Probably not.
I would imagine you're going to need a crap ton of rockets. So you're going to need some serious engineering before you do this.
Really? I'm surprised.
But it can be done.
The
It can be done.
Is
Weight liftage? Yeah, I think it probably is possible.
6 meters versus... Yeah, it would fit. It would absolutely fit.
And now that we're on the NSA watch list...
If the NSA put this on a watch list for this,
it's been a slow week for them.
Slow week for
What they're doing right now is they're watching this. They're like going, okay, you got 2 guys in Virginia talking about, well, one's worked for NASA, the other one kind of knows military. Who's the idiot from Baltimore who keeps talking about this?
He's the radical we should worry about.
Move along. Yeah, I'm the radical.
It's those radical ideas that lead to trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I am wanting a Gundam in Baltimore, so there cannot be any good that comes out of this, other than me just joyously. I don't know. I just
for your murder alley. I mean,
that'd be
a great deterrent. Give me all your money.
Never mind.
Surrender your weapons, citizen. Oh, boy.
So Steve's like, I really want to go to Japan. Next week, I want to steal the Gundam. It's like...
I have dreams.
I
have dreams.
This is how not to get on the geek archaeology mystery tour. Espouse stealing a large piece of machinery.
It's not a great way of you show up in Japan. What's your name? Oh, you're that guy.
Oh, him.
We've heard of him. Yeah, we've heard of you.
We got notes about you. You do?
Can you just step over here, sir? Oh, yeah, sure.
Routine check.
We're going to do an extreme cavity search for a Gundam. For a Gundam?
What?
Just in case.
Trank the big American.
We get some horse tranquilizers. He'll be blissed out for 2 weeks. He's fine.
Cool. Let me talk about something I like. If I can.
Is it anime?
It is anime indeed. Do I have it here? I don't. Yes, I do. I'm going to have to be very careful about this. Because it's something I like. Well, as long as I don't show the ending, it'll be fine. Because something that I did not think I would like, but I actually do.
Teletubbies. The anime. No.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's see if I can pull that up here. Although, speaking of, I saw a... I was in Target today, and I saw a Care Bears Good Luck Bear full bodysuit for sale.
Oh, God.
Like a pajama suit.
What?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Care Bears.
Care Bears,
As in, like...
green furry, green fuzzy, like
As in,
80s
like,
Care Bears.
40 years ago.
Yeah, like the 80s. Like the tag had the 80s Care Bear character on it.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
White chest with the clover on it. Yeah.
Now, this is going to sound really strange. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like a quality thing, or was it just like some cheap costumey piece of
I'll
junk?
be honest, John. I didn't check that closely. I walked
Because
by and I was like, yeah.
Because it's, now mind you, it's Care Bear, not like it's not like Kuma 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 Bear.
Right.
But I am in total love with my crazy sweatsuit, like my hoodie and sweatpants that are like faux fur lined.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of like Yuna from Kuma 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 Bear, that in the same kind of quality where it's like all fuzzy and so. Like as soon as you said that, it floated through my mind. Be like, the ultimate onesie. Like no.
I have no doubt it's comfortable if you want to wear a neon green, suit with a
bear head
charm, a 4-leaf clover on the front of it. It's just very, and like we're talking like bath mat fuzzy.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine
so I can just
if it's
imagine.
wicked comfy and well enough made that you could just sort of snuggle down into it. I don't know.
Target.
So
But imagine.
So it's crap that's gonna fall apart the first time you try to wash
It looked like it was fine, right? It wasn't barely hanging onto the hanger.
The minute you spill your Fruit Loops on that thing, it falls apart.
I just see the one guy who buys it,
Mm-hmm.
and then 48 hours later, that same guy wearing it down the street going,
I'm gonna look back.
My life has taken a horrible turn.
I'm Good Luck Bear. I'm looking for Love in the Alleyway Bear. You seen him?
Speaking of, kind of.
There are people other than bronies. Berries.
Let me talk about something I like. Talking about uncomfortable loves. Let me switch that over. Yeah.
It's all good.
Welcome to Brent's Anime Recommendation Corner, where I talk about an anime that I just really love. And today I'm talking about Kite, or Kite, which I did not think I would actually like when I heard about it and looked into it. And love in an odd way. I respect this film. I'm impressed by this film. This is a film about a schoolgirl assassin, basically, and what she's involved in, the very dark things that she does, and the kind of dark world that she lives in. It's very serious. It's a little over the top at times. The violence is often very, very gory. Very over the top in its own way. And ultimately, it's about her and this cop who are trying to track down these criminals, and this young man who comes across this girl and is surprised, obviously, by what she's involved with, and kind of gets sucked into her world. It's impressive because of the fact that its studio and its creator were known for making rather other kinds of anime before making this. And this was them kind of going legit, essentially, and so it's also remarkable for its ending. I'm not going to spoil the ending. The ending reveals this girl's backstory and what happened to her. I will say there is a very censored version of this. There is a less censored American version of this, and there's the completely uncensored Japanese version of this. If you find a copy of the Japanese completely uncensored version of this, be aware it is illegal to own that in America because of what is shown in the ending of this movie. So just be aware of that. Because this has a very dark twist at the ending. And that is very much part of the plot and very much part of where it goes. But I think it is worth the ride. And I don't think you need to watch the original Japanese ending. Like, you will know exactly what happened. You don't need to see any of that. But this is this kind of fascinating movie. La Femme Nikita, similar kind of a concept, about somebody who is pulled into this world of assassination and kind of what it's done to her, and the impact that's had on her, and the kind of screwed up nature of that as a result. The violence is so over the top. It's intentionally kind of comic book ridiculous, which I think helps a lot to make that work. And when I say comic book ridiculous, I don't mean people are flying off roofs or whatever. I just mean it has kind of that Mission Impossible-esque, over the top, not quite realistic element. But yeah, I found Kite to be really impressive in its own way. Again, partly because of just where it came from and the fact that you get this really hard-charging, hard-pumping action movie out of these folks, and that there is an emotional core to it. So impressive, just be aware that it goes places.
Been years since I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's been years. Obviously did not see the Japanese version.
No.
No, I have not seen it, but
well, if you've seen the movie, if you've seen the ending, you know what they show.
Right. Yeah. It's implied. Now there was a live action version of it with Samuel Jackson.
Sam Jackson.
This place was the cop, right?
What?
Yeah. But it was like Gunslinger Girl, but a lot more, kind of screwed
Gritty.
up.
Mm-hmm.
Gritty's putting it nicely. It's. I always thought that the action had to be over the top just so that you could get through it.
Oh,
yeah.
As I have heard of it before, but it hadn't
Yeah.
sort of really risen to the radar screen.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and it is very much action movie. Like, it feels like it is action movie with the other things sort of inserted into it. But it's kind of explosions and gunplay, first and foremost. And then that ending. It's after 10. Suffice to say, she and the there is a female character who is involved with another man going back quite a few years in her life. Quite a few years to quite early in her life. And that is, So just be aware it goes there. Yeah. Yay! And I forget. No, it's Mezzo that has the and there is a again there are scenes later on that show these two characters getting it on in the modern time and then kind of going into the past, and they are explicit because again what the studio used to make. And so that's kind of the censoring. Is you can see a version where basically you have the entire movie and then they imply all that, but they don't show those scenes. And then there's the
Right.
version where they show those scenes, but they don't go back in time quite as much. And then there's the original Japanese version. So that's kind of what you get there. Yeah.
Ooh, fuck.
Yeah. So anyway, again, just warning, but I think it is, if you come across it, like, be
Use your
aware there's
best
more to
judgment.
that. Yeah, use your best judgment, and it's one of those
Yeah.
things where you can totally get the censored version and get this cool action movie which has these sort of elements going on to it. It's interesting and so forth. And it doesn't,
You don't need the Japanese
you don't
version.
need it. And
Right.
What's great about it is that you get the screwed upness about it. Like you
Right.
get what the movie is saying, kind of like Jin-Roh, that this is bad. And that's all clearly communicated in the movie. So you don't need any of that to kind of understand all that stuff. But yeah, cool movie.
Wow.
In a weird way. Let's move on to something slightly less creepy. Slightly less creepy.
Slightly.
Just a little.
Just a little. Well, depends on the fandom. Sailor Moon. So,
Oh, well.
welcome
too
to This
late.
Week in Anime History. Yeah, where we talk about stuff that happened this week in anime history. On February 22nd, 1993, the original Sailor Moon series ended at a mere episode 46. That's right, they didn't have a very long run for that first season of Sailor Moon, but
Wow.
it all turned out okay.
It just, yeah.
Like, I think they
It
were
chugged
okay.
along.
It chugged along. I think that wasn't a problem for them.
They took a break. They had a glass of water, and they got back. Here we are today.
So yeah, that actually really surprised me when I first found that out. There are only 46 episodes of season 1, the first season, basically, of Sailor Moon. And they came back with like Stars and all the other ones. So
Well, in '93 it was the sort of standard 50, 60,
Yeah.
70 still.
Yeah.
50, yeah.
Yeah.
It was 50, starting to transition to 26 by that point. But yeah,
I was going to say, because every time you talk about stuff like where it's like, oh yeah, it had a short run of like 39 episodes. I'm thinking, I like cry at the end of 12, and I'm like, I need another 12 or something.
that's
It's
the
like,
weird thing. I mean, you go back to the 70s and it's like, oh yeah, we only had like 89 episodes. This show just went on forever back then, and then it kind of stabilized to 50. And you weren't
And it
nothing
dropped
if you didn't get
again.
50 episodes. And, yeah, and then
It dropped
kept
again.
going down. Which is why, by the way, folks, if you're curious and you see statistics for like how many episodes aired in a given year, it increases over time, partly because shows got shorter. So
Yeah.
it's a bit misleading.
which I mean, we all know. We've all watched shows where it's like 12 episodes. That's about all I'm following this. Like I got
Right,
through to it to the end.
Yep.
It was passable. It was okay.
Mhm.
If it was 60 episodes, I'd be like, oh, good hell.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't do this.
And there's certainly anime from the 80s where I'm like,
Yeah.
you did not need these many episodes.
The 16th arc where you like talk about somebody buying new gym shoes.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
Especially the romance stories where it's like,
Kame. Piccolo, what are you doing over
oh my
there?
gosh,
Story
oh my gosh,
arc.
he's doing the thing. Oh my gosh, he's doing the thing. Is he doing the thing? Yes,
He's doing the thing.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Oh wow. Yeah.
Tune in next week.
When they
he's
do
still
the
doing
thing.
the thing. Oh, 12 episodes later. Which, so too, wouldn't it be, in my mind, it would be so nice to think that instead of having 15 powerhouses that have 60 episodes each, you now have 56 that
Yeah.
get 12,
Mm-hmm.
and then a handful of them that get more than that, but you've
Yeah,
now got
very
a
good.
lot more content out there.
Well, and this is the thing
hope.
the industry has done that I think is so smart is that you get like your laid back camps where they're like, okay, this is something that if we pitch this and try to do 50 episodes of this, no one's going to give us the money for that. It's never going to happen. But we do one season, it's successful. Great. We do another season. We see if that's successful, and we can kind of do as much as the market can bear. Instead
Yes.
of trying to pour tons of cash into something that just falls apart.
Little shorts, an OVA here, a little snippet there, and it's like
Yeah.
just to see, see what the bellwether is on this, and you see how it goes.
'Cause I remember,
Like,
I remember in the early 2000s at Otakon, I was at a panel with some folks who had like worked in the Japanese industry, and they were a little worried about the shift to 13 because they were like, their worry was it would just be all 13 episode shows. I mean, that's all you'd
Right.
ever get of anything. But I think they found that right balance.
yeah. Well, it freaks me out when I have a series that I like, and it goes to 10.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
why 10? What?
Something,
You
yeah,
know,
what
something's going on
happened?
there. Yeah.
Well, it's like, and I don't know whether they, like some of them, the years gone by were on Crunchyroll, that they were, the simulcast series, so it wasn't, I think God of High School was 10.
Oh,
But that's
interesting.
Crunchy.
Yeah.
I think
Well, yeah,
Crunchyroll
Crunchyroll
paid for that
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah,
But but there's been other ones where it was a fairly decent show. Enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Content was good. The actual quality of the animation was good, and it went to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I understand the 12-minute episodes. I understand the 5-minute or 3 minutes
Right,
and the
yeah.
filler kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But it's like you go to 10, and it's like, okay, that's just too short. 12
Yeah.
is fine. 13 with the beach episode.
Then it,
It's really 12 with
Mm-hmm.
a short OVA, basically.
then it's then it really feels like an ad for the manga. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, you just here's a teaser, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, you get the 10 episodes and tune in to Shonen Jump. Like, you.
Exactly. And
But
there's-
could you really imagine though a 90 episode run of Angel Beats?
Oh, I could. Oh, I so could. Oh.
Exploring
Because
each
you
and
get-
every
yeah.
character and
You
arc.
explore every single character all the way
boy.
through. It would be wrong for it, but I totally could see it.
Well, it'd be like the classic X-Files, not whatever
Oh,
that
yeah,
came up
yeah.
afterwards, where you had, episodic episodes, then an episode or two of like the core storyline, and then some more episodic stuff, and then some more core storyline.
Well-
It's like you have to balance that really well to make sure you don't like alienate people and make it really, get the pitchforks and torches out.
Look
That's
at-
Cowboy Bebop right there.
Exactly.
That's what- yeah.
Well, look at all of the super robot shows of the 70s, where it was, we find the robot, or the robot shows up, battle of the week, battle of the week, battle of the week, battle of the week, and then we defeat the big bad guy in the final episode, right? It's basically 48 episodes of filler. Right?
Yeah. Like,
It can be done, but yeah, it's interesting seeing how the market's evolved. I think
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with where we are right now, all things considered.
I'm hoping the more rich and robust Netflix investments, now that Crunchyroll and Funimation are all under the same umbrella, hoping that investment money will give us greater content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Please.
Yeah.
Well, and we're certainly seeing plenty of announcements.
Yeah.
They're still churning them out.
Blowback is for Warner Brothers, Disney Studios, and Disney Studios, for all practical purposes, just doesn't function. I mean, they do shorts for Mickey
Right.
Mouse and stuff, but they're not generating a lot of great content. Warner Brothers, what was the last time there was a Warner Brothers cartoon out?
I think Frozen did pretty well. Frozen 2.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like Mickey Mouse cartoons, like those kind of, that kind of stuff. Where it's like
they shut that down for Chicken Little. I mean, that's long since gone.
Yeah. I mean, that's Disney animation is just sort of not.
Well, Warner Brothers has got DC, which actually
Yeah.
Are they still generating
Oh,
a fair
yeah.
amount of
Yeah,
content?
they are.
They're doing a lot of.
Yeah, if you get of all the many streaming services out there, if you get HBO Max, you can get DC on there, and they have some actually. Harley Quinn
That's right.
is really good.
Cool.
Is
Animated,
yes.
not
Yeah.
live action. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kelly Kuko does the voice for Harley Quinn, and she does a really good job for it.
Cool.
And there's a lot of Juan Carlo Esposito is actually in this. He does Lex Luthor, and so they have the weird thing about the Warner Brothers DC universe is that they get really good actors to do the voices.
Right.
They do they have all these like A-listers that do this stuff, and they're like really into it. The other one that I'm looking forward to is I haven't watched yet is the Batman Gaslight. It's Batman set in the 1880s, 1890s.
Victorian
It's Bruce
Batman.
Wayne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Catwoman is not in all leather and everything. She actually wears a dress. Batman
wow.
and Bruce Wayne is he's actually framed for murder for being Jack the Ripper.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
So it's a lot of. So if you're actually, I've only seen a teaser trailer of it, but if you are into steampunk, there's a lot of steampunk.
Okay,
Right.
that makes sense. Yep.
They do a good job on the animated movies, unlike the live action movies. They just do. It's solid. I guess what I'm trying to say is DC animated is solid.
Right.
And because they built it on the house that Paul Dini built.
Yeah.
Man.
But it's this is the thing without cable, without your HBO Max or anything else like that. There's next to nothing that's ever just sort of generally in print or advertisement that I see that talks about any kind of American animation things that are going on. And it's just like I know they're out there. I mean, Cartoon Network has things.
Yep.
Nickelodeon has things, but it's just like
Avatar.
Next, what are they doing with it?
Nickelodeon announced that they are forming a new studio purely to make Avatar: The Last Airbender animated series.
And it's being headed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Well,
because everybody loved that,
quite
right?
the opposite. Netflix is producing a live-action Avatar animated series. Originally with the original showrunners, and then the showrunners published a letter saying, "We are not involved with this anymore. They are going in a direction we do not. We just could not see eye to eye. We are moving out." Whereupon Nickelodeon said, "Guess what? We're setting up. Here's a studio for you to run to produce. They're going to do a sequel Avatar animated TV series. They're going to do other stuff. So yeah,
cool.
Like they're investing in that. It's like, dang.
Yay.
Yep.
And it's not a competition. I'm not saying competition versus American versus Japanese. Just the breadth and variety of the animated medium is enriched by having more contribution.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, and you have that problem. Have any of you come across Bluey at all?
Sometimes when I hold my breath a long time.
Australian animated series, like for preschoolers, about a dog family, bipedal dog family.
A blue heeler.
Yes.
Australian type of dog.
It's exactly
Bluey.
what they are. And it's really fun. Two girl dogs and then father and mother, and them just having sort of general interactions. And one of the big ideals in it is that children learn through play. So the episodes are about the kids coming up with ideas and just kind of running around the house and imagining things, and the parents kind of getting involved in that and indulging them and so forth. And so there's no, two, right? There's none of that in the show.
Right.
It's just showing kids playing and trying to tell adults that it's okay for kids to play, because play is how kids understand the world. And it's an Australian cartoon series. Apparently, it's very popular. You can go out and get it. I had no idea it existed until I saw the toys in Target a couple of days ago, and it's a thing, right? And how would we ever come across this? Unless you stumble across it and the thing. But there are billions of kids around the world who love this show.
Which is just, I mean, these are the types of things that we've talked about before, and I've mentioned before. 40 years ago, trying to encounter anime, where it's just the difficulty of doing it, the random happenstance that you find out something that talk to somebody that results in things. It's like in this massively connected digital age in which we live, that you find something in Target that's been completely off your radar, and it's like, oh, hey, there's a thing. Saturated with information, and yet things still seep through the cracks. And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, not to mention all the the Chinese animation, the Korean animation, just oh my gosh.
Right. Yeah.
So who knows? Genshin Impact, right? Which, speaking of which, now that we're kind of on the other end of the show and I can talk about stuff, Genshin Impact. I watched a documentary about the history of
documentary.
MiHoYo. the studio that
Tech
that made
Otaku
it-
save the world.
Yeah. This is their fifth game. Their fifth
Whoa.
video game. Yeah. Their first one was a side-scrolling platformer called Fly Me to the Moon.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Where
Interesting.
you play this little anime girl in a rocket pack who's flying around this level. It's a mobile game. Collecting stars to try to get to the moon. That's at the top of the level. Fly Me to the Moon.
Okay.
It came out in
Oh, God.
2012, and apparently it was literally like 5 college students who were like, "Hey, we should make a mobile game," and so they made this mobile game, and it came out, and it was okay, and then they did something Impact. What was it?
Bruce Willis. What was that thing? Asteroid Impact? Deep Impact? Or something like
Honkai
that?
Impact.
Honkai.
Which was translated into that was 2011. 2012, Honkai Impact, the original series, which was translated on the app stores as Zombie Gal Kawaii,
Okay.
because that was a good name.
Yeah.
Which is basically High School of the Dead. You're fighting zombie girls, zombie high school girls, and attacking them and so forth. Which has gotten 2 sequels. 2014's Guns Girls with a Z.
Okay.
And these are 2D action things.
Right.
And then Honkai Impact the Third, which has a full scale like they got, I think, like an anime studio to produce like their credit sequences. Like, it looks gorgeous. It full 3D rendered, all this kind of stuff. And then they did
For a mobile platform game.
for a mobile platform game. Yes,
Wow.
it looks amazing. It's like one step below Genshin. And then
Wow.
2020 they released Tears of Themis, which is a reverse harem dating sim game. Because that's how you follow up that.
Wow.
Yeah, half a dozen hot guys, all surrounding this cute girl in some kind of murder mystery game, and then Genshin Impact.
I thought you meant reverse harem, as in like you have to lose all the girls.
Yeah, no. And then Genshin Impact, which made
The story of
all
my
the
life.
money.
Now, oh, dude,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I've watched a plenty of like. Oh, I spent $2,000 on Genshin, and this is what I got. And then it proceeds to rant. Like, ooh.
in its first 2 months, Genshin Impact grossed $393 million.
Oh.
Yep.
Wow.
And what's frustrating to me is that
You're not on the board of directors?
is that so many people don't seem to play that game the way the game is clearly designed to be played, or more accurately, they project what they want the game to be onto the game, and are like, well, the game should be this. I came across somebody who was like, I got really frustrated because I wasn't getting a new character every other day.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like, but they never promised that. They never designed the game that way. That's
Man.
not
Right.
part of the experience. It's just not the pace it's at. And folks are like, well, if you spend 16 hours a day, then you'll burn through all the content in 2 weeks. Like, yeah, you will. Like, that's not the game is not designed for people who play it 16 hours a day.
Because some of us actually don't live with our parents, and we have bills to pay. And,
And similarly, I burned all this money on the game, and I wasn't immediately rewarded with something that would like beat everything. It's like, but that's not what the money goes to. That's not how it's designed. And so it's really frustrating. When you see people who are like, this is a fun game to spend an hour a day in or whatever, and then you get these things over the course of time. You have to kind of balance and say, okay, this I'm going to get over the course of a week, whatever. Fine, it's fun. But
Well, some of the big rant complaints are from people who are this is what they do.
yeah,
they are gamers who get sponsorship and they do their thing, and it's just like, because I'm not. I mean, I'm sure there are, but I'm not aware of too many people who are like, yeah, I'll drop $2,000 in an online game just to see what happens. It's like, obviously you're getting, you've got support going on here somewhere. So in that narrow channel, if your job is to game all the time, and you run out of content in 16 hours, well, that's because you're grinding this thing, because you're earning money grinding this thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, you take it with a grain of salt, your complaints about that, but it's just like, wow. Yeah, I can see where some people who would be more concerned about, I'm not getting a new character every day. It's like the game mechanic tells you that that's not what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, they purposely kind of make it so that you have to like work to get to a point where you might get something.
Yeah. And to be clear, if you are playing, if you are not just logging in and then, doing one thing for 2 minutes and then assuming that's enough, like that's not enough. But as long as you're putting a significant amount of time in, again, hour a day, you'll get a new character every week or two, roughly, with like the wish stuff you get. And that just seems to be like the pace they expect, because the game is designed so that you spend some time getting to know the character, figuring out what you want to do, et cetera, and so forth.
Right.
But yes, I spend most days I log in and spend some time in Genshin Impact.
I do daily commissions.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
I get my 4 commissions.
And I have yet to succumb to the addiction.
Well, it'll
but
happen.
not for the lack of trying, but yeah. See, my complaint will be like one day I'll log on and you guys will be like, "Oh my God, he hasn't showered. He looks like he hasn't showered in like 5 days." Steve, are you still at your job? Fired. Okay.
Don't care.
They wouldn't let me play Genshin on the cash register.
I'm
doing that.
This is a mobile game too. Like you can play Genshin Impact on your phone. So that is the thing.
Have you tried playing it on the phone?
My phone can't support it. It's like 3 years old, and it's just not. It was a $150 phone 3 years ago, so it just doesn't have the capacity.
I was to say, because I've seen guys I work with who they have like it looked like Street Fighter. I mean, one guy I know who really is really into it. He has the latest phone gadget thing. And the graphics are great. It's a thing, but it's like you're doing like hack and slash in Street Fighter format. So you got two characters opposing each other. And I'm like, I'm trying to envision Genshin is just this sweeping scape of climbing mountains and sailing down things and exploring and opening chests and fighting stuff. It's like mentally, I'm not able to wrap my skull around, like, how does this work on that device?
I mean, when you guys describe Genshin Impact, and I think of it, of myself playing it, I think of it on my large screen.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, beautiful vistas, the backgrounds are wonderful.
And in fairness, Becca plays it on her phone. We Becca.
Okay.
It's intended as kind of another way of playing the game when you don't have access to a PC, a laptop, whatever. If so for example, I have a friend, if she is out of the house at her, if she goes to her parents' place and is going to spend the night there or whatever, she can spend 20 minutes going into Genshin Impact and just kind of essentially farming for a little bit before bed. Boom, done. She doesn't have to like bring the laptop, open the laptop, get all that kind of stuff going. She can just kind of get some stuff done, and you're still getting the same, visuals. So it's not like, oh, I'm logging in and pressing a button so the thing pops up to say, hey, you got a thing.
Right.
So it's a supplement, if you will, while still being able to
play the game. Never having played mobile.
Yeah.
I played Tanks versus Zombies or something, Machine Guns versus Zombies early on, like my iPhone 4.
Yeah.
Like, it was very simplistic, so like just conceptually looking at Genshin.
Yeah, it's so evolved. It's amazing. I haven't even gotten into it. It's crazy.
So back when I had an Android, right, there was one of these games.
The phone or the real thing?
the phone, unfortunately, not the real thing. Anyway. There was this game, ridiculous game, and this was back in the 2000s, a ridiculous game, and all it was you were a chimpanzee, and there was a coconut, and it started with you kicking this coconut, and it kept going up and down, up and down, up and down, and then you pressed, like, you held the screen down for a moment, and then you did a quick tap, whatever, to get it to kick the coconut.
Okay.
And the coconut would go sailing, and the game was how far could you kick the coconut.
Okay.
And so the coconut would just go sail, 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 hit the ground, bounce, 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 roll, 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 and then goes, you kicked it 390 feet. And you're like, okay, that's the game.
There you go. Hours of entertainment.
Yeah. Well, no, it is. Unfortunately, it was, because I would be at 3 a.m. in the morning. No, actually, more like 4 a.m. in the morning going, I can't sleep. I don't really want to get out of bed. All right. Coconut. Clink. It's going, it's going, it's going. Ah, there we go.
Simple pleasures, you know.
Let's see if we can beat 20 feet. Click. You know, it's just... And then I got hooked on Angry Birds.
The dopamine's just flooding your brain. Oh.
Yeah. The dopamine.
And I will say, one thing that has been true for me for Genshin, not to turn this into an ad for Genshin, although it basically is now.
Click here to
like, subscribe, and play Genshin.
Genshin is my... Yeah, I should be playing Genshin for 16 hours a day. You know, it is an anime-themed open-world game. Like, those two things are exactly the things that I like in life and in video games. You know, I have 80-plus hours in Breath of the Wild. That is... and yet, you know, I log in once a day, get my stuff, you know, whatever I get, login bonuses I have, fight a few things, log off. I've never felt that need, that compulsive need to play it forever. I've certainly had weekends where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to spend, 3 or 4 hours just doing a whole bunch of stuff and really enjoy it, right? So forth and so on. But like, the game that everybody played in 2020, New Horizons.
I was going to say Call of Duty Black Ops.
That was the other one. What was it? Not the new...
Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4.
Yeah.
Battlefield 28.
Escape from Tarkov.
Animal Crossing.
Oh,
that's
yes.
Yeah. I put so many hours into Animal Crossing. I spent a Saturday in Animal Crossing just like clearing trees off my island. I don't know why that game just sucked me in.
You and Becca would talk about that.
Yeah, that game just took my life for like a month and a half.
What happened?
I don't know. I don't know why I got into it. I don't know why I got out of it. It was
all a fever dream.
It really was. In fairness, the great thing about Animal Crossing, I can't believe this has turned into a video game thing. The great thing about Animal Crossing is it is a very relaxing, open-ended, essentially construction game where you have this island area, and your task is to turn it from an empty wilderness full of like broken branches and trees and emptiness into a thriving town. Not like a city, but you're going to invite residents here. You're going to build houses. You're going to have bridges over rivers. You're going to have, you can place things wherever you want. You can go fishing. You can, do all sorts of things.
Better than Minecraft?
I don't have enough experience with Minecraft.
Right there.
Yeah. I never.
I've only seen a friend of mine play it a little bit.
Yeah.
Graphically, it's much different than, than Animal Crossing.
It's a soul suck. It's a soul suck.
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
And because it is relaxing and charming and sort of low-key, it's, there's no stress. So it's easy to just spend all your time doing it, right? And just wanting to do it forever.
The Euro camp of
yes,
video
exactly.
games.
That's exactly what it is, right?
So basically, I think the three of us should actually buy into the mail-in games that we discovered a few weeks ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I actually looked into it a little bit more of the Space Conquest game a little bit.
Yeah.
And there are...
Was that the one I made the phone call and startled the lady with?
She's like, wait, somebody actually called? What?
Yeah.
So I forget what the name of that. I still have the link, but it's basically this Excel grid, okay, that's been blacked out, so it looks like you're looking at a flat map of the whatever known universe it is, and there's actual little dots which are actual planets, and each one is basically a player.
Okay.
And so you can, like, as we figured out, we could sign up for 10 moves, 12 moves. And by the way, folks, when I say mail in, now it's email, but you actually have to type in stuff.
And it was this back in the day.
Yeah. And then mail it in, and then they plug it into an algorithm and then give you the answer back. And then that was your one move, and then you go into another move.
Then you read up on other moves, and then you plan your next.
And there was like at the beginnings of code that you would have to learn in order to type. Yeah.
Wow.
I was looking into it. I was just like going, and I was like thinking to myself, going, God, back in the day, that's
the PBM gamer.
Play
by mail. Yeah.
Yep. Just all the things.
I just still think that was funny as heck that we talked to that woman who's like, "Hi, you guys still exist?" Well, we've been in business since 1976. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to insult you.
Yeah, it's been around. Well, and they also that company also shifted to tabletop role playing games. I just happen to know the name of the game, the name of the company. So I think it's one of those things where, that's probably not like their main business line anymore. I was like, yeah, we're still in business.
Well, hey, and it's Saturday night. At what time did I call her? It's like somebody's still manning the phone, so it's obviously somewhere in there.
Yeah, I could write that, Steve. Like we could make that happen. That'd be pretty amazing.
I want to build a new orbital factory. Okay, 6 weeks later, you can build your orbital factory. Oh, cool.
If High School Prodigies has taught me anything, it's that I can go from just arrived in a fantasy world to orbital satellite systems in about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's just I know that now. It's very clear from.
I'm still waiting for a second season of that show.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So I'm not sure they've announced it. I don't think anybody's shown
any
indication.
That unfortunately, I think that show died. I don't think there's much of a fandom for it.
But I think it was funky fighting the dude.
That's the problem, though.
Call down like the sun god power and blow the town up, and
it was too weird. Unfortunately, I loved it.
That's why it was fun.
But whatever I read online, people were like, they threw too many things into it. It just wasn't. I don't know. But I have a question.
What did we learn on the show tonight, Brian?
Perfect. I just spent time this week looking at the origin of that, rewatching the origin of that. So, I have learned nothing.
Wow.
I've learned that I like a lot of things that are kind of weird, and that is not to everyone's taste, and that's okay, because we all have our different tastes and different likes, and there are things that you will like or dislike, or just a little bit off, a little bit different. That's fine. And I've also learned that I enjoy doing this. I just got to say, I love coming on every Saturday night and doing this with you guys, and just chatting about anime. It's a lot of fun. Is Gundam weird to a lot of people? Yes. Gundam's weird. It's a good kind of weird, though. It's kind of weird we need.
Indeed.
How about you guys? What did you learn this week?
Spirited Away gets a stage play.
Yeah.
We're one step closer to a show on ice.
That's right.
That's true.
We are.
Mm-hmm. Nausea would work well on ice, I gotta say.
It would. I think Grave of the Fireflies on ice would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it'd be a tough emotional watch, but it would be touching, to say the least. Other in the same vein, I not having a presence on YouTube for forever, and then being here. This is awesome, and I appreciate the invite to be here.
Sure.
because I talk anime with people that I work with, and they think I'm just out of my mind. By that conversation, other people who obviously are referring to me as being strange. I just had a guy Friday night who came up and said, I talked to such and such. You're into anime? And we then, over the course of the next several hours, were like, so what do you like? Well, this is a great series. How about that series? Oh, what have you ever seen? And it just, you know what I mean? So it's a nice way to talk here about the things that I enjoy, that I'm passionate about, and that somehow that's got some representation with other, people out there who are similarly interested. It's a nice place to be.
Yeah. Great.
I have learned that I will probably be arrested within the next 2 weeks.
For Gundam theft.
Suspicion of
they're actually gonna have to create a new court and laws, because they're just gonna not understand what's going on here, and I'll be at a loss to explain. To which point I would say, well, if you watched us on Saturday nights,
exactly,
at 8:00, you would
so
understand.
they'd have to make a law that's no longer Grand Theft Auto, it's Grand Theft Robo.
Right, there we go.
Grand Theft
Gundam.
Steve, you would need to walk into court dressed head to toe as Char Aznavour.
Yes.
Like that is,
yes.
It fits.
Yes.
It all works.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Absolutely.
And pay the fines in nothing but sardines.
Drive off in your Honda.
I have learned that it is always nice to be around people at a given time to talk about these things and have fun and have a commonality with people, with you guys, people in chat land and things like that. And knowing that my particular channel is out there, has been for a while, and it's all a fun thing for me and stuff. And it was really nice during COVID-19, still going on, but at the beginnings of COVID-19, to really have this outlet, honestly, and be able to get online and enjoy the expectation of what I'm doing on a Saturday night, and hanging out with guys who enjoy the same things, and don't mind me talking about stealing a Gundam, because they're gonna rat me out when I actually do steal it.
Rat you out?
No, not rat me out, but they'll be like, when the cops come, they'll be like, yeah, we tried to stop him, but he's
I don't know. If I got lifetime admission to the Gundam Museum,
that's true.
That's a pretty hard. That's a pretty hard deal.
The end of Sneakers, where we're all like, negotiating our thing.
So I've learned that what I learned also tonight is that with the proper breakdown of the human spirit and mind and psyche, you can rebuild a killing machine, as long as you have the proper knowledge and equipment of German weaponry.
Yes,
exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it all comes back to Germany.
Yes, apparently.
I don't know. Boy, this sounds like it's the last episode or something. It's not. Next week we'll be continuing the weird train with Mind Game. Oh man, Mind Game is a mind is something else, and it's gonna.
Boy.
It is just a trip. It is literally a trip. I will be aware if anyone wants to watch Mind Game. Just it is Masaki Yuasa's first film, and it is very much a just psychedelic, crazy set of just kind of stuff being thrown at you. There is plot. There is stuff that happens. It is a narrative. It's not just random imagery, but very bizarre things happen in this movie. It's meant to be like a fever dream.
Is this like Paprika?
Oh no, much weirder than that.
Oh God.
Oh yeah. Oh, much weirder than that. Think like Yellow Submarine.
Oh God, I was gonna say like a Frank Zappa movie.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, this is way out there. This is very way out there.
Okay.
It's going to be weird, and it's why I say, it's why I tell folks who are interested in watching it, just be aware. Mind Game is just something to just kind of sit through. You're just going to let it all wash over you. Don't expect like something really, really sensible. But it's very interesting to talk about and delve into, and also it is an R-rated movie. It's a very R-rated movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Very
Is
R-rated
this
movie.
one of those like watch 50%, take a break,
Sure. Yep.
get a glass of water,
Mhm.
splash
Yep.
some water on your face, scream into a toaster, and then sit back down and watch it?
The other nice thing is that like the plot's not complicated because it is just kind of all this stuff happening.
Yeah.
So you can just kind of
Sometimes it's not the
stop.
plot itself that's the problem.
Exactly.
It's something
But
else.
which is the great thing is you can walk away and then come back and say, oh yeah, they're on the island, and then just come right back in. Like there's not like massively complicated backstory to
Right.
deal with.
Now, what were they doing again? Who's uncle?
Yeah.
No. No.
So yeah, a little personal favorite of mine, but definitely a remarkable film. And again, the first, the first Masaki Iwasa film. So notable for that. It would be many years until Aizuken. Cool.
Damn it.
I know. It'd be
But
fascinating
still,
to compare them.
I mean, this will be an interesting sort of segue into the creative mind that is Aizuken. You know what
Yeah.
I mean, just I'll now
Absolutely. Yeah.
knowing how much
You can see the two. Mhm.
Yeah, and that came up with the discussion. That with the guy was like, "Oh, what do you think's a great anime?" I'm like, "Aizuken." Aizuken. Want to see creative process? You want to see insanity? You want to see a thing that you're gonna love? Aizuken, do it.
Mhm.
So it's like I would love to see if if I can trace the trail from one to the next.
Exactly. Yep. Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm not sure. Seems vaguely familiar.
Oh, that was the thing that I asked Evan whether he got the Gellion I sent him.
Right. Yes, that was the one. That's
That's the thing.
That's the one with the 5 magical girls, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
that
sure.
one.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. The one we're joking. Legendary anime.
That was
We're very aware of that.
about the young boy with the mother fetish and the never mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting too close.
Yeah.
There was a thing. Oh yeah. So getting back to MiHoYo, in Fly Me to the Moon, the main character, the girl, her mother died, and then her father wasn't around much for her, and then 2 years ago, he asked her to come and meet with her, to give her this jetpack that allows her to fly to the moon. So it's very very much copying off the whole Evangelion backstory.
Okay.
It's
I was
a very
just saying-
different thing, but yeah.
Amuro Ray.
Yeah.
Here's your Gundam. I don't want to do this.
Oh man, Amuro goes.
Yeah.
places.
This is not a game. You got to grow up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then the whole thing with
Holy.
Temray and yeah,
Yeah.
Amuro has some things to work through.
Yes, over many, many episodes.
Yes, exactly, and later episodes.
Yes.
What was the Gundam? Not the last episode, not the last appearance of Amuro in the Gundam universe. Cool. Thank you all so much. This has been awesome, as always. We'll see you all next week. Until next time, watch more anime.
Matashita. Well, not ashita, but next weekend. Johnny. And the Baron. 5, 4.